All right, folks, we are live tonight. I am with the esteemed Mr. Joel Gomez from Coffin Comics today. I've known Joel for, I don't know, 2 years, maybe 3 years now.
Yeah, like
It's been
three.
a while, but definitely always enjoyed it. And he comes from a long background, and it's not just Coffin. You know, he's been around for a while. And I'm going to kind of embarrass him a bit
Oh no.
because this was the first time I saw Joel's stuff.
Oh, that's right.
This
That's
is the
right.
first one when he was doing
Which
this.
Witchblade Lady Death?
Yep, old school days.
Yeah,
And
with
I,
Francis Manipul.
mm-hmm, I
Yeah.
remember
You know
because
what's
I'm a
odd?
huge. I mean, he knows I'm a huge Lady Death fan, which we all are in Coffin, of course. But
That's right. That's right.
um, but there was one other thing that shocked me when I finally found out. So I got to bring a big book in.
Oh snap.
Was this right?
That's right. Yeah.
He did all the Brightest Day. I'm a huge Blackest Night, Brightest Day guy. That was one of my favorite
Yeah.
stories from Jeff Johns. So I was like, oh, okay. Now I can put two and two together. That's kind of how this circuit kind of works, right? For most artists and writers, is that we're all connected somehow. You know, it's like we've all been in the same trade spaces, you know, been to the same things, you know, either working with Top Cow, Image, you know, a lot of people got to be able to do this kind of thing, especially in the early 2000s, right? So, like, that's what I've noticed a lot is like a lot of people from the early 2000s are now really branching out and being able to do what they want to do, right? So, when you
Yeah.
get, you know, little things like this, you know, like La Muerta, you
There
know,
you go. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so, but it's a big difference. And so, with that being said, Joel, I'm going to give you the throne per se.
Oh.
Kind of tell us what your background is, what got you into comics, and of course, what are you working on today?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, Nathan. Great to be here with everybody. Uh, I got my start in comics, oh man, a long time ago at a place called Top Cow Productions. I wasn't an intern per se. I was just kind of loitering, hanging out, and meeting all the artists there. I was so motivated, inspired by the amazing, talented people that were working there. Dave Finch, Joe Benitez, Mike Turner were all working at the studio at that time. So it was really neat to see them working on their projects as they were. And I got the bug, man. I really wanted to be a part of something unique like that. I was enjoying my time being around so many creative people. And so I started kind of loitering and hanging out with the artists there, understanding what it was. I got my break doing backgrounds, assisting guys to help meet their deadlines by just drawing things in the background. And the best way to describe it was I was building the sets for these people to draw, their actors to run around in, right? And
Mhm.
I used this opportunity to, I don't know, pick their brains, learn more about what it is of the craft of comics that I enjoyed so much, and gain as much or absorb as much information about the whole process from as many people that would let me do so. And again, it was never an official title that I had there at Top Cow, and I'm very thankful for them to never kick me out because they just kind of let me be there. And I took the opportunity to learn as much as I could from the artists around me, and I made the most of it. Started working with Mike Turner at the company he had created, which was Aspen Comics.
Mhm.
Did a couple of books with him there, and I had already I had an established relationship with Francis Manipool, who I had worked with on the book you had just shared, uh, Witchblade Lady Death, and he and I together worked on a book called Iron and the Maiden, and that book was created by uh, video game creator and producer Jason Rubin, who was responsible for a game called Jack and Daxter at the time,
Mhm. Yep.
and it was a really cool project, and he was an interesting guy to work with on this project. And the stuff I had done on that particular project got me noticed by Jim Lee, who then hired me to work as a staff artist at Wildstorm. So I worked at Wildstorm, oh man, I want to say like 2006 to 2010. And that was a neat experience. I had never drawn a full book for anyone at that point until I got to Wildstorm. And so I kind of became staff artists there, learned the ropes through these other professionals there, people like JJ Kirby, Carlos Diana, Ryan Benjamin, Mike Lopez, and a couple other new guys there with me as well. And again, it was just an amazing experience to be around so many talented, creative people. And I just tried to absorb as much as I could, make photocopies of the work that I really enjoyed and absorb it and take what I could from the experience of that. And I'd say, oh, geez, let me see, 2015, 2014 is when I met Brian Polito at a convention. And he offered me the book La Muerta, and there was a conflict with my schedule at the time, and it wasn't going to work out. And so I told him, I can start at this date. And he said, sorry, this book has to be going by then. And so for, like, I'd say 3-4 months, I missed the boat, and I thought, damn, I missed my chance with this really cool creator. And a couple months pass, and he reaches out to me again and says, hey, look, if you're interested, the offer is still available. It just didn't work out with his prior artist. We were working along, and we just weren't feeling how it was coming along, and we kind of parted ways. It was a great, meeting of the minds, but it just didn't have the look that we were going for. And so I jumped on it, man. I took the opportunity to build on that experience, and it's been one of the most rewarding things I've been able to be a part of in comics. I really enjoyed my time working at Wildstorm. That was probably the most I had done anywhere. Before Wildstorm, I was really just an assistant, again, doing backgrounds, helping guys out. And at Wildstorm was when I really dipped my feet into the whole thing of being a penciler. And it was a lot all at once. And I kind of just dove right into it and did the thing. And I liked it. I was very appreciative of it. But I also think in a weird way, I may have been running on the fumes of my childhood in regards to like what I was working on. It was awesome. It was a great experience. But for whatever reason, in hindsight, when I think about what I do at Coffin Comics with Brian and Mike McLean, it's so much more exciting and rewarding because it's all based on the merit of what we're creating. And, it's sink or swim. On the books I work on at Coffin, there's a unique feeling where I didn't grow up with these characters, but I'm creating these characters now, or I'm, helping develop these stories with these guys. And it's like a high risk, high reward kind of way of expressing it, because these characters aren't established. And so it's up to us to make them interesting enough for the readers to enjoy them, and for them to want to support it and the book, and to carry us over into another book. And so I don't know, there's something very makes me feel alive to think, this could, I really have to do my best to bring my A game to have somebody really want to pick this book up and read it. And not that those other opportunities in the past were not that. It's just that I guess as a kid, I enjoyed those stories more. And now as an adult, I don't read those stories as much. I think those characters are amazing. But like I said, working on these projects is so rewarding because it's something fresh. At least to me, it's new, and really get to put our stamp on how these characters are portrayed or how they come across to the readers. So it's been an awesome ride, and I get to work with amazing people like Brian and Mike, and there's something to be said about that as well. It's not often in any kind of circumstance, in any job anybody has, that they get to work with people they like. And so that, coupled with the opportunity to really put your fingerprint on something unique, is really exciting. And it's a real treat to, try and build something like that and have people enjoy it and come back for more.
Definitely. And that's the thing, is like looking at La Muerta, for example, like that's your staple now. Like when you think La
Yeah.
Muerta, you think Joel Gomez now, because not just the covers, because also you're the interior artist of the
Right.
book, for
Right.
every issue of La Muerta. And so
Yeah.
that is actually different than a lot of people in our community today. There's a lot of cover artists. Like we've got them all over the spaces, right? But to
Yeah.
do interiors plus do covers, plus you also do cover art for other characters within Coffin as well. Like, you've done Lady Death, you've done Hell Witch, and those. And you actually dip your toes in the sand with other characters, as well. Like, Lady Gunfighter coming up now,
Oh
which is the
man,
big one. you know but we had
yeah,
talked about it. Like we talked about that a long time ago. Like, she's going to be a
I
big
know.
character. Like, because we were doing the Infinity Verse, discussion. It's like, it's going to be big. These characters are going to be big. The Captain was big.
Yeah, Captain
um
Scargrave.
you know
Yeah,
and
it's
everybody
neat.
loved it.
Yeah, it's neat. I mean, all credit to Brian and Mike for creating this Coffin verse, so to speak, the universe that Coffin Comics characters reside in. And like I said, especially now with Lady Gunfighter, it's just such a treat. Again, it's a completely new character we're developing, and I get to help bring her story to life. And so it's a challenge because on some levels you want it to look unique and you want the reader to experience something really cool. And I want to honor the words that those guys throw down. I've become really appreciative of the way Mike McLean writes. He's such a great guy to collaborate with, man, because like he just he's so like concise. That's what it is. He's concise with the way he describes things, and he's never like extra wordy, or he doesn't really paint you in a corner with details or descriptions. Like he gives you just enough to, at least I feel like he gives me just enough to riff on, and I know him. I feel like I know him well enough to get an idea of where he's coming from. And
Hmm.
so when the way he describes something, he always leaves room for you to fill in. And again, it's like this, like it's like being in a band or something where he puts down just enough of a beat, and you realize like, oh, I think I know what he's doing. And so then you kind of pick up a little bit, and you look at him, and then like this, and he's like, yeah, okay. And so and I'll go back and forth with him via text, or I'll call and I was thinking this, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, that's totally that," or "No, no, no, I was thinking this entirely." And it's like, but we don't do that as much anymore because I've kind of gotten a sense of where his tastes lie, and I think he's also understanding what he'll get from me if he says things a certain way. Nine chapters of La Muerta, each chapter 48 pages in length. Um, it's a it's cool because again, you build this rapport with each other to really understand how we work, and there's an upcoming chapter, actually, chapter 10, that is literally happening right now. I think it's being produced, but it'll be the first La Huerta chapter that I'm not really associated with. Um,
Oh,
I know I'm freaking out, but
I,
it's only because I'm on Lady Gunfighter Part Two. Uh,
uh,
so it's really amazing because Gunfighter is the 96 page story. At least this chapter is, and so I've just wrapped up the first 48 pages, and I'm currently laying out the second half of the book. So it's just an honor. It's a treat. Like I said, to live in this world for a little bit. Like I thought, you know what, I could do that. But as soon as I'm done, you can believe I'm looking forward to the opportunity to hopefully jump back onto La Muerta because Maria's still my girl. I love everything
mhm.
about that world, and I think that you know what. I also think, though, in a weird way, the absence will do me some good in the sense that I might bring a little more extra for when I come back, just to because I miss it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, you're expanding upon your abilities by looking at different characters. So, I mean, that's always, people might think of it as a bad thing, but it's actually a very good thing because you're able to learn, like, how does this character react? How does this look? And be able to do
yeah,
different spaces. Because
yeah,
that was one of the big things was, like, you were talking about when you first, were getting started, you were talking about layouts, like, right, working on
yeah.
layouts, doing things like that. So that's why when you did your recent sketchbook, there's a lot of,
Oh
like,
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah,
layouts and things like that,
yeah,
which,
yeah.
like, to me was always good. Now I will tell you too, I'm kind of happy because I like how you
Hell
always do
witch.
you always do these good ones inside, but and that's the thing is, like you look at Castle Grayskull here, you know,
Yeah.
like layouts and things like that. You've got your own way of doing things to it.
That
Um,
Castle Grayskull. What's funny about that? When I was a kid, probably you as well, maybe I don't know, but like that before before the cartoon, the toys had just come out,
Mhm.
and there was like this illustration of the castle, and I think it was for the box or the toy or the playset, and it was just like scary as hell. Like it didn't look like a playset. It almost looked like some sort of D&D, uh, like magazine, not magazine, but like a gameplay kind of
Mhm.
illustration. And so it had a much, I don't know, like an edgier vibe to it. And so when I drew that particular Castle Grayskull, I had that idea in mind to like kind of portray it as how I had imagined it in my mind, because in those days they had these illustrations of the characters that were a little bit scarier than I thought they
Mhm.
intended them to be. Skeletor looked kind of freaky, man, and
Oh
I think
yeah, the skull was like an actual real skull, not a happy skull. It's
yeah,
not on
it was like
show.
I was like in the fourth, fifth grade or something like that. And I was just like, damn, this is dark. You know what I mean? It's kind of edgy. It almost had a Frazetta-esque thing to it in the
Mhm.
earlier. It wasn't as polished,
Yeah.
and I think that feeling was what made it special. And so I don't know. That again, the Castle Grayskull had a little bit of that vibe to it. That's all.
Oh, and I agree 100% because if you look at the actual, you remember we used to have records and books way back
Right.
when,
Right.
when we were kids. So you'd get the nice
Yeah.
book. You'd have the books were a lot more grittier than the cartoon ever was. And
Yeah.
I remember reading through some of those books like they just killed somebody. Like
Yeah.
and it was different too because we were 70s 80s kids, so people
Yeah.
died in books, people died in TV, and it's like
Yeah.
that was okay, that's what naturally happened, but it didn't affect us the same.
Do
It's
you
like
remember
we
that there was like a really dark? Did you ever watch Gremlins?
oh yeah.
There was like a really dark part in the movie where somebody's talking about how somebody dressed up as Santa Claus and went down the chimney and got
Phoebe
stuck.
Cates'
What
dad.
and died.
What's that?
Phoebe Cates' dad.
Phoebe Cates' dad in the movie. Like he climbed down the chimney and he got stuck and died in the chimney. And it was like this morbid ass like part of the movie that they just kind of skipped over and like, hey, let's go
Hmm.
anyway, let's keep going, and it was like it's some dark shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, like you said, like it was like it was you rub a little dirt on it and you move on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's also we played outside and we got hurt and it's like, oh,
That's right.
okay, I'm not dead, I can get up and keep walking. um,
Yeah, well, dude, you could be outside riding your bike till like 8 p.m. and you were like in the third grade. You know what I mean?
yeah, like as long as the street lights are on, you're good. Like, all right, might be time to go home. It's dark everywhere.
Yeah, that's so bizarre when you think about it. The world today, like, yeah, it's just different times, man. Different
It
times.
is. I mean, it is completely different times. I mean, it's like you think about like even in our artwork today, how artwork has changed. Like the things you've done back then versus the
Yeah,
style you do now.
right.
It's completely different. But
Yeah,
it's your style now. Like if I see a Joel Gomez book, I know it's your style because I can see it. You know how it is. I mean,
yeah,
you can see all the stuff I've bought from you behind me.
yeah. I
You
know.
know,
That's amazing. That's so
it's like
cool, man.
and it's because I like your style of books and how you're doing it because it's gritty. It's not the happy to glad, kind of things. This is how it really would be, if you think
Right,
about it. Like,
right.
I lived in Arizona for years, in Tucson. So,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah, because I'm retired military.
No, I
So,
remember. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you and I were talking. Did you spend? Was it a year in Osaka? Not Osaka. Were you in Okinawa?
Okinawa, I've been to Osaka, I've been to Kyoto,
But
I
weren't
lived
you
up.
out there for like a year?
I was in Kadena, which is Okinawa side, for about 6 months working out
Okay.
there, and then
Yeah.
but I did the whole trails, like Korea, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, all
Oh
that kind of area, because
wow.
that was our area of operations. Working at Pacific Command.
What
Um,
was your favorite area to be in?
my favorite still to this day is the Philippines. Every
Why?
time.
Why? Why? How
I
come?
love it's the people and the culture. That's why. It's
That's cool.
it's so laid back. I mean, Thailand's the same kind of way too. It's so laid back, and there's no I'm gonna say rush to do anything, but it's like you
Right.
just enjoy it, and the food's amazing.
Oh,
His
dude. Yeah, you're right.
and that's why I loved it. Japan was
What
great. I
What was
grew up.
that the weather? What was the weather like in the Philippines when you were there?
hot and humid, 100 degrees,
Oh
100%
wow.
humidity. But you
Woo.
can, but coming from Kentucky as a kid, that's what we had already, so it wasn't
Oh,
so
I see.
bad, you know.
Yeah.
But what really got me was is I was stationed in Alaska, and then get sent to the Philippines, and then get sent to Thailand, then get sent to all these places, and they're like, you know what? Just leave me somewhere in the humid area so I can get acclimated for a while.
Sure, sure. So what was it like 3, 4 months at a time or
It
like
would
different?
be, yeah, a couple of months here, a couple of months there to go do it. Then we went and did tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and and then come back, and then I was stationed in Colorado after.
So what did you do when you what was your job like in the military?
So
What
I
did
was
you position?
communications. So I did IT. I did server management, computers, radio maintenance, kind of a little bit of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what was actually good for being in the military because they could send me anywhere. All right, let me go figure out how to fix this thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So I did that for almost 20 years, and then I said, I'm done. Time to do something different. And that's where I'm at now. I work for the Bank of America now, doing IT security.
So it's the stuff you were into kind of carried over into your private life or your
They did.
personal life. Yeah.
Yeah, and you evolve, of course, over time. Like
Sure.
mine's all now at the strategic level, working operations and things like that. But it's a lot of paper, and I realized that once I was in the military. Once you get to a certain level, you're the guy sitting in the cubicle doing the paperwork, and doing the requirements, like
Sure.
and it makes sense, once you get to that level. But it's like, man, I still remember those days working on a computer in the back room somewhere to make it work, and you miss that. But there's no
So
for that really now.
do you work remotely or do you go into an office on a regular
I
or
do. I work 3 days in, 2 days out.
how do you
So
like that?
it's good. It's actually really good, especially for family, because, like, say if we
Sure.
have appointments and things like that, we schedule it on the days that I'm home, and then
Sure.
that way she can take care of everything. But
Right.
it's very flex. Like when COVID, of course, we were all working from home,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which was actually ironic because that's what took harder for people to come back to the office. And then the bosses are like, y'all better get back to work or y'all going to lose your job. So you better get back in. So
Well, but
magically
also
people start showing back up.
but also in a weird way, like you're in a position like where you're saying you couple here and then 3 days on or whatever, right? Where you realize like, well, maybe they don't need to be there all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great flexibility, but when you add it up, I'm still doing 60 hours a week.
Right.
So
Right.
between the driving and the working and everything, so I'm like, you can do that for so long, right? And then
Sure.
things get changed, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun, and that's how I always look at my job. Is whatever job I'm in, I should be having fun while I'm doing it. When it's not fun, it might be time to change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool. Like I said, you're in a pretty pretty cool position where it, like you said, you get a couple days here and 3 days there, and gives you the flexibility to alternate. But that's got to be kind of nice because in the sense like what you were doing carried over into this thing, you know what I mean? um, it doesn't always work out like that sometimes in life. I had a couple friends who were in comics or doing stuff like they're doing a bunch of conventions, and then once the conventions kind of lost steam or they weren't as crazy as the times when those people started, they had to quickly reconfigure and do some other kind of thing that wasn't at
Hmm.
all associated with drawing or whatever. And so it's tough, man. Sometimes that stuff doesn't carry over. You know what I mean? Um, I guess just the way it is.
Well, and it's hard too. I mean, you think about like when COVID happened, right? Like we're all
Yeah.
comic convention guys, so we're all used to being there. Again, there is no conventions at this point,
Yeah.
and you're talking about livelihoods for people at that point.
Yeah.
Real. It's
Yeah.
like they make good money working at the conventions, getting these things. And it's not just the money; it's also the networking side, right? It's
Yeah.
like talking to the different people to be able to know. All right, maybe I can get a cover here, or go
Yeah.
get to work here, or maybe find a colorist or people. It's all about the networking, which is why I love conventions. I go out to conventions to see all my artist friends and writer
Yeah.
friends. And do I spend a lot of money? I probably do, because you know what, we're talking. Oh yeah, I've got this thing. It's in my 11. You might want that, Nate. Oh yeah, let me get that. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
and I also think of it too. Is like I'm supporting you as an artist, right? Like I bought
That's
these
true.
gate. You know, I bought all these from you over the last couple of years, and it's because I know
That's right.
it supports you. But guess what? Now I can say I have the original pages from
That's
Lemoyne.
right. Yeah, and it's a thing. I think it's a unique experience because with original art, especially the published art, uh, you're holding a piece of the storyline or the history of the character sometimes, and that's kind of a unique thing. But you're right with the conventions, and but it's interesting too. Like I don't know, since COVID, it feels like there's a lot more, I don't know, like transactional kind of stuff happening via the internet. Like people
Mm-hmm.
are more active with their Kickstarters and their, having their internet or like their connectivity, the community created online. And so it isn't that it's made conventions worse, but it's just grown just as much or as big a possibility for artists as being in a convention ever was. So it's kind of interesting to see that kind of thing build up as well, because if you couple that, the idea of staying active to certain communities online where you can build like friendships, and like for me, I've met a lot of really amazing people like yourself and a bunch of other people through the Sworn Nation Coffin Comics
Mm-hmm.
Facebook page, that are just comics fans and into the storylines of the characters. But and then you just build these relationships with these people, and it grows. And then if when you do see them in person or you're at a show and you run into them, it's like it adds or enhances that experience, like this stronger sense of community that I hadn't considered before. Because before I used to just mainly do shows, and it was always like it was a little more random. Someone just coming by the table. It was like it could be anybody, because at a comic convention, in most cases, it's like it's I don't know, it's like a pop culture event. There's a little bit of everything, right? And so that'll attract all kinds of people, which is great because you'll be in front of person or a fan of comics that may or may not have ever heard of you. And so it's just like this new people that you would have never interacted with are being exposed to your work. And so that's great. But with couple that with the idea of having a strong social network via, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it may be, um, it really enhances those experiences, because then when you do see those people at those conventions or those in-person events, it makes it all that much more fun, because now are not only are you meeting new fans and fellow creators, but you're getting to interact with people that you only ever maybe see online. So it's just it's kind of a cool thing, and I'm enjoying that process more and more, and realizing uh, how much more we all can be connected and how much more involved. It's like having like a pen pal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just like everybody's like, hey, what's up? That's cool. Good luck, or hang in there, and you're interacting, just socially online or whatever. No big deal. But then you find out like, hey, there's an event coming. Swornfest is coming,
Oh yeah,
and everybody's like, oh,
totally.
dude, everyone's gonna be there, and it's like, oh shit, and then it like
Yeah.
as you anticipate it coming, it's like, oh man, it's gonna be so much fun, and so so's gonna be there, and it just, I don't know, it makes the whole event that much. I don't know, it makes it much. It makes it sweeter, and you're more into it, and you have so much more to be involved with, because it's not like you haven't caught up with them, but now you get to see them in person. So,
And that's what's kind of crazy. Like Swornfest coming up, I'm coming there this year.
oh, it's
Uh,
awesome. This is your first one, right?
First, I haven't been to. Well, the last thing I went to was in the '90s when it was still called the Fiend Bash back
Oh,
then.
I didn't know Brian back then. I didn't know him
Yeah,
at all back then.
and that
What
was
was
gonna.
that like? What was that like?
It was crazy. Like, Rob Zabrowski, right?
Yeah.
So Rob, Miguel, Troy,
What?
Bachman.
Miguel and Troy? They were there too?
Like they're the original like crew, right? They're the original team.
Yeah, I'll
So like
say, I guess so. Yeah.
um, and so I haven't been to a fest in forever. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. And so I went in 2019, right, to Fiend Fest.
Okay.
So this will be my first Sworn Fest because the last two I haven't been able
Oh,
to
Feed
go.
Fest. You were okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. I was there at that one. Correct. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But like in the Chaos days, it was such a small crew of people back then.
Did you
Like
go to
yeah,
one of those?
I tried to, but it was just where I lived at in Kentucky, it was just too far.
Mhm.
And I'm a kid too. Remember, this is in the '90s. We're you start looking at our ages, you're like,
I
man,
know. I
it's like
know. I
where's
know.
and that's when I got into Lady Death was in '94.
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
first started. But it's going to be cool to see everybody again. Finally, because we've got so many new people. That's been around.
Yeah.
I was away from it for a long time.
What were
You
you up
know,
to? Just not out
well,
of comics, right?
I was out of comics pretty much because I was so working with military and things like that. So
Yeah.
I came back about I want to say about 6 years ago. I really got back.
Mm-hmm.
But then I didn't come back to the big two like I used to be. Like I was a huge Wolverine fan, but then when I saw what
Mm-hmm.
they had done to him, like that's not what I grew up with. That's not the Jim Lee X Men, that I grew up with. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Right.
little different. So I went back to what I enjoyed reading, and that was Independence.
Mm-hmm.
So reading Hellboy with Mike Mignola, reading Lady Death,
Yeah.
and then reading Witchblade and The Darkness and things like
Yeah.
that. So I'm like that was my bread and butter.
Dude, the
Frank,
darkness. That was good shit.
I love it. And that's why I love what they're Top Cow's doing now. They're doing all these special Kickstarter editions, of the
I haven't seen
collections.
those.
I've got the three Witchblade ones, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
waiting on the next Darkness to grab their three volumes when it comes out.
Are
Uh,
they reprints or are they new stories? What are they? I
they're
have
the
no idea.
they're reprints of the old stories,
Ah,
but they're in a big like omnibus kind of style.
dude, you remember when they had a darkness video game?
I do. I played that. I played that like 2 years ago because it was on PlayStation Network for free.
Oh, really? Did you know who the voice of the darkness was on one of those games?
Uh-uh.
The guy, the lead singer of Faith No More, and he was also in this. He was the lead singer of Mr. Bungle.
Oh, that's
Mi-
Mike
Mike Patton.
Mike
Mike
Patton.
Patton.
Yeah,
Dude, he was the voice of the darkness.
that is awesome. You think
Isn't that
about
crazy?
like I remember listening to Faith No More, singing Epic, and then
Hell
going,
yeah. Yeah,
that's
dude.
and that's
Yeah.
that, and I think that's the kind of difference about our community as you're talking about the Sworn Club. It's like
Yeah.
we're an older community. I'm not going to say we're
Sure.
old. We're older. uh,
Seasoned.
exactly. We've been around for a while. We've been doing comics for a while, but we also got a lot of the same similar taste in music.
Yeah,
Going,
absolutely.
the old '80s hair metal to the '90s grunge to the new metal. That time frame.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard. Like I listen to the new heavy metal that comes out now, and it's not the same for me.
Oh,
It's like,
really?
yeah. So it's like I have to listen to it and like, okay, what are they actually saying? For one, it's like my ears are a little bit older than what it used to be, but
Sure,
I
sure.
found a lot of good, like a lot of new bands I like, and
That's cool.
most of them are like female based, now
Huh.
like Nita Strauss, her doing her stuff, the
Okay.
Warning,
Oh,
and
I've
things.
heard of them. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Hailstorm.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of new music that's really good. It's just sometimes you just got to open your ears, a little bit to it, and that's
No,
what
I
I've kind
agree.
and that's what I kind of learned was like I was stuck for a while. I'm only listening to my music, to this old music that I've always listened to for so long, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, you know what? I've probably missed out on 10 years worth of music, right? And
Yeah,
so
right, right.
I went back and listened to it because we all did the same thing. Like you listen to the same bands. Like I'm a huge Stain fan, so I would listen
Oh,
to
yeah,
every new
yeah.
Stain album that came out, every new Tool, Perfect Circle, Nine Inch
Mm-hmm.
Nails, any of those old bands when they had new music, we always listened to. But then
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what else is out here? And then
Right,
and
right.
I'm like, there's a lot of good music. And then when I heard that, Chad Gray from Mudvayne went to Hell Yeah, and then I was like, oh, that's where all these people went. They all
Right.
cycled and made these little super groups, and I'm like, and it's really good stuff. It took me a while, but
Yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead. Go ahead.
just like with comics, it took me a while to come back, but it's like, what, I went right back to my roots because I knew what was going to be good, and that's why when I came to the Swarm, everybody just brought me right back in, like it was nothing different, and that's what's
Yeah.
great about our communities. Like we take care of one another. That's why
Yeah.
Stormfest is really made for us because it's going to get everybody together. You'll be able to talk to people. Like I go to Fan Expo here, and Fan Expo is huge.
The
Um,
Dallas one?
yeah, the Dallas one,
Is that like
and
a is that a 2 day or a 3 day thing?
3 day. They started on Friday and it goes Saturday and Sunday, but I usually only go on the Saturday because of work. But like every time we go there, man, it's like last time we had Don, we had Ebas, JP Roth, Ryan Kincaid,
Wow.
there's a lot of people, but there are people, right? There, it's not the big DC big, stuff. And I have more fun that way any day.
Right.
Because I saw that Jim Lee line. It was outside the door. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I still have my old X-Men one he signed back in the 90s.
That's so funny. Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of weird that way. Like like I was mentioning before earlier, like I have no problem with it. Like I enjoyed those books a lot. When I was a
mhm,
kid. Up somewhere around my late teens, early 20s, around the Image time. I didn't read as many comics. And ironically enough, like when I got into Top Cow, I was only really looking at Top Cow books at the time because I was so inspired about being there. Um, but only after, like later in I guess when I was at Wildstorm, when I started to work there, did I realize like, wait, I don't know, did I make a mistake? I'm not feeling this as much. And it wasn't that I didn't like the characters, but I felt like I was just running on fumes from my childhood.
mhm,
I didn't have as an enthusiasm for the characters or the storylines because I was just older,
yeah,
and I think that's when I started like you with music, where you're like, wait, maybe I've been listening to the same stuff too much. Maybe go and explore and see what's out there,
mhm,
And I think it's when I started realizing what was being published at the time, and this must have been like, I don't know, 2008, 9, when I started to really kind of feel out, well, what's cooking? What are people making?
mhm,
What's good, and it was a slow burn in the sense that I started acclimating to certain books that I wanted to read and that I really enjoyed. But a steady diet of that really opened my eyes to the potential and the opportunities that were out there. And then, lo and behold, I started working with Brian, and I just hadn't considered the potential, and that guy, man, I learned so much from him all the time. Brian is amazing. You think about the fact
yeah,
that he was like in the 90s, he was a big, popular indie creator with Lady Death and, the Naughty Girls thing,
mhm.
and there were
Oh
so many
yeah,
people saying like, oh, this guy, it's like what is it, a flash in the pan, so to speak, the old phrase.
mhm,
And man, look at this guy to this day. Like, lo and behold, the guy is constantly evolving and creating a new identity for himself. And like, he's one of the biggest draws in Kickstarter comics, and it's
correct.
like, there's just so much to learn from the way the guy carries himself, how he handles his business, his professionalism, the way he treats the fans. And it's like, I don't know, it's an honor to be around somebody like that, and to just, it isn't like he holds your hand, my hand, I should say. He doesn't like, like, this is how I'm going to do this. It's like you just pay attention to how he carries himself, and you see how he does his business, and you're like, man, that guy, he's really got his shit together. He knows what he's doing. And when you consider the fact that it's still only 24 hours in a day, and how he can manage to do so much within that 24 hours, is like, he's a master of the what he does is he like visualizes the completion, and then he works his way backwards to reconstruct it. Like, how would I get to the completion point? And then he'll backwards recreate it, and using that mental model,
Mhm,
you figure that's how he does his scheduling, that's how he does his writing, that's how he does the conventions he builds, and everything. Like, he has like this idea where he kind of projects like, this is what the finished thing is, and then he breaks it down, like, how do I get to that finished process? And he was blowing my mind when he was telling me something like that, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's really like, he's just meticulous and he's really inspiring, and he's just got the energy of like three people doing one thing. You know, he's awesome. He's an awesome guy.
He is. I mean, I've only met him twice, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and that's just kind of how it is. Is like
Sure, sure,
being able
sure.
to catch up at the right convention at the right time.
Right, right, right.
Um, where I lived at, but every time, I mean, he's always done amazing, especially by his fans. Like he bends
Yeah,
over backwards for his fans. Whatever he can do. I mean, how many people do you know still signs books for free, right? Like he still
right,
signs them for free as a
right.
publisher, you
Yeah,
know, and it's like you don't see that often anymore, and
yeah.
and I give him props for all the stuff he does. Like I mean, even tonight he did, the Hell Witch, closing ceremony,
That's
for
right.
that and
Yeah,
closing for the HQ. I'm like, I can't believe he's already been there for almost 6 years at HQ. Now he's going to the new home, and it's like, and that's a constant evolving of Coffin. Like you go from chaos to Coffin days, it's a lot of the same people because it still
right.
works. The people
Yeah,
there that know it, they know what they're doing. They're fixing,
yeah,
getting everything good to go for us. And they brought in the
yeah,
right people, right, to do the
yeah,
writing. They brought in with Mike, with you, with the different artists, that support Coffin. And
yeah.
and it's a trust thing. I mean, and I don't blame them. I really don't. I mean, because it's Lady Death. It's like,
Right.
come on, you're not going to let that out of your scope because he's had so much to go on with it. So now with all the new characters, it
I
evolved.
know.
It evolved everything. We just did
Yeah.
Lady Tannis. We just got that. A couple weeks ago.
Did you get your
So
books yet?
I did. Yeah, I got mine in.
What'd you
So
think?
I enjoy the storyline, especially since it's old school, 1970s. I was like,
Right.
yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. The bell bottoms are back. We're in downtown New York. And she's like going there. She's like, but it was a humbling moment for her, which I thought was good because it actually brought humanity to her because she is half human, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
it's like,
Right.
so I think that's going to play into why she supports the Sworn in
Right.
the actual Lady Death books because like she knows she's half human. She knows what's part of this, what she's supposed to do, and so I
Yeah.
think that humility is what will help her, down the road.
Yeah, he's got, man, they've got so many new things that just popped up. We had Lady Satanas, and then oh, there was another book right before it. Oh gosh, I forget the girl's name. She's in all white.
Chaotica.
Chaotica. Yeah. That was right before Satanas, right?
Yeah, and we should be getting that one after Imperial Death. So it's like I can't wait to see like these characters because you think about late, and for me it was a little hard too because I'm like thinking about Chaos Lady Death versus Coffin Lady Death, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, what happened to all these people and all this? That was all a dream, and I loved how Brian did that. He's like, all that was in a dreamscape, and this is where we're at now. Okay, makes perfect sense. But then now he's like, oh yeah, she's got a son and a daughter. In this one, I'm like, well, who's the dad?
Yeah, right? Yeah, no kidding.
Nobody's asked that question. Like, who's the dad of Chaotica and the Jumper? I'm like, we haven't seen that part yet, which it's going to happen eventually.
Of
Like
course.
it's Brian's got some kind of plan for that, but I'm like, wait a
He
minute.
always does, man. He always got a plan for that. So what's your favorite thing that you're anticipating from Coffin Comics?
Right now, I want to see what Imperial Requiem does. Especially
Hmm.
with the cyber, Lady Death
Yeah,
piece to see who we all know that Lady Death's going to win, right? Cyber Death is not going to win. That's just
right,
that's the rules, right? Lady Death's going to win, but I want to see what the fallout is, right? Like,
right.
because this is an alternate era, right? So did
Yeah,
we just create a multiverse within Coffinverse because of this? And if we have a multiverse, that opens up a lot of things like Captain Scargrave, the
right.
gunfighter. We've already kind of seen some of that workings in that. So I'm interested to see like if we have a whole army of Lady Deaths just show up to do something. Yeah,
Can you imagine?
that'd
Holy
be
cow.
awesome. You know, and
Yeah, that's
then
pretty wild.
an army of Lady Deaths versus an army of Hell Witches, or actually the day where Hell Witch turns good.
Wow, that would be kind of nuts, huh?
It would be because you can kind of see that sometimes with Hell Witch. Like she has some good qualities occasionally in some of her
Right.
books, like
Right.
even in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Primeval.
Like
You know,
a redeeming quality, you mean?
yeah, because she actually cares about the people she cares about, right? Like, and it
Yeah.
shows every person, and ironically, every person she's cared about has died. You know, so
Yeah. No
and it
kidding.
so I can understand from her personality why she's so mad about things. But it's like, at one point, if she just gets over trying to take over for Lady Death, she
Right.
might actually do something else.
So imagine, like, if they were to make something like Lady Death related that was like that wasn't a comic. Let's say like it's like they were going to make it a show, right? Do
Mhm.
you think it would be better served like as an animated thing or like a live action thing?
Animated all day
Right?
because
Like it sounds silly to think, but I think the same way too, only because of how fantastical it is, and how much more it could be if it was animated. You know?
because you can get away with so much more in animation and the
Yeah,
story building that you could do. I mean,
yeah,
because if you notice, even with like Apple and everybody else, they usually do 10 to 12 episodes per season, right?
sure, sure,
Animated, you can do as many as you want. Usually,
yeah,
and because the old rules were for syndication, you had to
right,
have 26 to 52 episodes for a year.
right,
That way, it
right,
would it would be for 5 days a week for the kids to watch or whatnot, with repeats. But now we're not limited to that. So like
right,
Netflix, they'll do 10 episodes, you're done. You
right.
know,
Dude, there
we
was a series we just finished watching on Netflix called Blue Eye Samurai.
I've heard of
And
it.
animated series, but holy cow, it was insane. It was like I don't know, it was like Game of Thrones kind of a vibe to it, where it had some nudity, it had violence, it kind of had gore, but nothing was gratuitous. But it was all packed in there. Language. It was very adult themed language, but a period piece. Feudal Japan. Really well done 3D animation that looks like 2D animation, kind of flattened.
Hmm.
Um, Beautiful stuff, but it was such a strong story, and the fact that it wasn't like some kids show was amazing. Like they were allowed, it really allowed for some really interesting fight sequences that were well choreographed, but because of the 3D quality and the fact that it was animated, had such a dynamic kind of feeling to it. Man, I can imagine. I don't know, something like that for like Lady Death. It would be amazing. It looks so cool. You should check it out. Blue Eye Samurai.
I'll have to check it out because I'm a huge Rurouni Kenshin fan. So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
and
it's great, man. It's really good. But that gives me hope for something like, an animated Lady Death if it were ever, I don't know, possible.
I mean, they could. I mean, it especially say if you don't make it exactly like the books. Like, if you have your own storyline with it where you
Sure.
do something different, which
Right.
guess what? That's going to get a different type of people in too, right? Like we have
Right.
anime people, and then we also have comic book people. And a lot of comic book people like anime
Yeah.
typically, but not all of
Right.
them, right? So it's a different perspective on it. So it might bring other people. Like we have the one animated movie, for Lady Death that they did years ago.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
but not everybody was happy with it because it really didn't tell the story that we all wanted to see.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it was a big departure from the actual
the
concept,
book,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. 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 Well,
and
what's interesting too, though, like when you think about like the Marvel movies or whatever, when you think about how much of the content they were able to tear through in their movies and so quickly,
mhm.
um, it almost feels that even like let's say you and I were big animation movie producers and we're making a Lady Death movie, we would probably tear through all the new content that Coffin has created within like the first hour of the movie because a comic is a bunch of still images and a feature is a moving picture or a story that like consumes so much time and space within that could be said the whole half of the books could be spilt out in that time frame. You know what I mean? Um, so they would have to be maybe based on the books, but then they would have to have a lot of not necessarily filler, but things that you just wouldn't see in the books. You know what I mean? Um, and still find a way to be true to the source material. I think the only thing you could do is hire Brian to write the whole damn thing.
Definitely. I mean, and that's the thing is, he ain't letting nobody do that, but either maybe him or Mike. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I mean it's expected, but
Sure.
this would be a situation like, okay, we're having Zombie Tramp now, right, with Lady Death.
That's
We're
right.
having a crossover like that. This would be the perfect avenue to have like Vampirella, right? Vampirella, Lady Death, she, Lady Death, like having Billy Tucci come on board and have a she, Lady Death, because we all read the stories, from
Yeah.
Avatar press back when, so it'd be like it would. I would love to see those kind of crossovers because it's not done in comics all the time. It's
Yeah.
hard because it's rights, it's things like that. But maybe animation would be a good platform for it.
That's a cool idea. Like each episode would be her visiting some other type of theme or world, and in that world, she'd run into some new character. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, and that would be neat. Like maybe she'd have to collect something from each world in order to stop some cataclysmic event, right? And in each world, she encounters this new character. In this particular episode two, she encounters she. In episode three, she encounters like Zombie Tramp, or et cetera, et cetera. That's kind
Just
of a
because
neat idea.
you think about what if Lady Death had the Witchblade gauntlet?
Oh, dude, that's crazy, right?
I
Yeah,
mean, it's like they kind of talked about things like with Witchblade, Lady Death, from back when, and it's like, it's a possibility, it's like things like that they could do. It's just there's a lot of legalese now, right? Like there's a
yeah,
lot
that's
of things
true.
that they'd have to get through to make it happen.
Yeah,
Um, but like Vampirella, like Vampirella might not happen because of the whole dynamite thing,
yeah.
having to work with dynamite to do that. But I could see she maybe Razor's Edge, or
Oh, yeah,
Cyblade,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bring some of the other characters back from overseas. But I mean, it'd be a cool thing to see.
You know,
Um,
it'd be really cool. It'd be like I don't know, it'd be like these titans of the of the indie world. It could be like Spawn, Lady Death. You know,
that would be. I've seen like people have done commissions for that, but what like
I remember. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm having Mike DePascal do a commission for me right now, but it's Death Dealer and Lady Death
Oh, that's pretty sick, dude. That's cool.
because I'm a
I
huge
just
Frazetta
imagine.
fan.
Yeah, dude, Frazetta is amazing. I just imagine like because I mean I think I don't know where it was, a Phoenix Comic Con one year. They had it on the program guide,
Mm.
and it was like Todd and Brian were both at the show for the event, but for whatever reason they had both characters on the program guide, and it just seemed epic. Like, whoa, that's cool. And I just had never considered the team up that way. Um, and I thought, fuck, man, that would have been that. How come that hadn't happened? Like,
I
I
mean,
just thought, like, that'd be an epic, kind of confrontation or team up, whatever you may choose.
think about it. If you had Lady Death from Spawn versus Cagliostro and Satanus, from back
Dude,
then, like that would have been perfect because you remember the old Spawn cartoon, right, from HBO. Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
style, if they did that kind of style where it's like those
yeah.
two together, oh, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
That's kind of a cool concept with like the idea. I forgot about Cagliostro. Um, having the villains team up create the reason for the team up regarding Spawn and Lady Death. That'd be pretty cool, actually. Uh, yeah, who's the headliner?
Exactly. Well, and I tell you, the person that can make it all come together is Matthias. Matthias could be like trying to take over Hell, and then
Oh, you're right.
because he's now in Coffin, right? Like he just
Right.
showed up in Coffin now, and he was a
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. Chaos, right?
Because
Yeah.
he was Hope's dad, so he's Lady Death's father.
Oh, dang. I'm taking notes right now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why it's like it's funny to see him in all the like Hell Witch and things like that. I'm like, this ain't gonna turn out so well. Last time he
Right.
showed up, in Chaos, it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was a while ago. I'm glad that they brought him into the fold.
Me too. They brought him in. They haven't made him a big character yet, but
Right.
it's like Brian does. He'll put these little bitty things, like little nuggets as you go through. Like even the La
Easter
Muerta,
eggs.
you can see that. Like the little nuggets, like Lady Death and La Muerta were going to finally get together in a comic, and they finally
Right.
did. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, this next chapter, I think, is a big crossover event too, possibly.
yeah,
Uh,
I saw that. Like it said, like Lady Death, La Muerta combined. You know,
yeah,
for the
yeah,
book.
yeah. It's going to be pretty nuts. Um, I'm curious to see how it turns out. I want to know I want to know what happens. It's so funny because Maria is like, I know her so well. I can only imagine her attitude and opinion about everything, and I just go like, oh, she's gonna be pissed.
She's gonna be so pissed off. She's gonna have to work with Lady Death to get this done. Loco's gonna be in the background, just mad because he's not in charge anymore. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's
So
crazy.
so we have a big one here,
What's
and
that?
let's see. Mark asked Joel any
Oh,
sports tidbits on the topic.
oh, that's right. Mark
'Cause I know
Woodward.
you had some things that you wanted to show.
Oh, I think Mark Woodward. I'm not sure if he's referring to this, but he had sent these amazing coffins, these like 2-3 foot coffins that were handcrafted from wood. He sent a pair of them to me as a gift, and they were amazing. They were like they had like these doors that were connected to the coffin itself that would open up, and it was just really cool. But we we have something we're doing with those. I just can't reveal anything on that yet, Mark, if you're referring to that. Um, but I mean, we do have other stuff I'll be sharing regarding what I'm working on for Coffin Comics. Some Lady Gunfighter stuff. Should we do it now or in a couple
Yeah, let's
minutes?
go into people. Let's show
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. We'll do this now. So what it is, it's I'm currently working on a book, Lady Gunfighter, and I've just finished working on the first 48-page story for the book, and I am now doing layouts for the second half of the book, which is another 48-page story. Um, so it's interesting. The book introduces a new character into the Coffinverse, Lady Gunfighter, created by Brian Polino and Mike McLean. And so I thought I'd share a couple of the pages with you guys just to share a little behind the scenes of how the book came along. So let me switch cameras here. All right, here we go. So here in hand is a how I initially start the pages out, and what it is this is just kind of a rough pencils stage for how the page starts, right? And so this is on a piece of typing paper cut in half. Like it's one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that carries two layout pages with this blue lined thing here. You could see. So this here is this here is the bleed line, and then this inside line is the live line. So the bleed line is if I want to draw something that goes to the edge of the page, that's the extent I want to draw it in. And this live line is you want to make sure dialogue, captions, anything fits within that frame. So anything that you want to not get cut off needs to be drawn inside of that smaller rectangle. Um, with that idea in mind, you get the first idea of what we have here, which is me drawing to the edge of the page bleed of this silhouette of this house burning. Um, Mike was had an idea for what he wanted us to see in this first panel, the biggest image on the page, and revealing this house that's on fire. And then panel 2, we're on the interior of the house as the flames start to rise and start kissing up against this bed frame with a little doll on the bed. And in the third panel here, you see the lower half of a young figure, looks to be maybe an 8 to 12-year-old kid, as the flames are burning the house around him and pieces of wood and stuff are falling. And in the bottom open-ended panel here, you see this old poster of a trickster, kind of a marksman or a shooter. And that's the first view of who Lady Gunfighter was in a previous life. So this kind of thing I send over to Mike and Brian. I try to get their approval. They let me know yay or nay um, on what they want to see changed or whatever. I then blow this image up to an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and from that I kind of create this. I do this. I blow this up to work on it, figure out the proportions, or do any kind of. Here I had to figure out perspective, so I had to figure out my vanishing lines. Where does the vanishing point meet? And as you can see here, I didn't mention in the previous thing, but this is a caption, and I always try to place in pencil loosely the caption lines or where words are going to go, just as a suggestion. And if the guys like it, they can use it. So here in this printout, I mean, the only thing I really needed to figure out was this structure and where the perspective points were. So that's what I did. And then I then transfer that to this artboard, the 11 by 17 artboard. And we kind of had this idea, Brian and Mike and I, we wanted to create a time frame between, or we wanted to create a distinction between the here and now and flashback sequences. So to create this complete shift in the timelines, we decided to go with a grayscale or like pencil smudging kind of technique for things that were flashbacks. So this particular sequence obviously is at page 1, but is a flashback sequence, takes place in the past for Lady Gunfighter. And so here we see the burning home. Here we see the little doll with the flames coming up on the bed. The young kid. I inverted the look so that in the layout his feet were facing the other direction. But I thought, well, I'm going to draw more of the debris falling, and so I kind of inverted him, put him on a 180, and then I used the opportunity to make this Winchester Willie's Lady Gunfighter, and so it's a poster kind of hearkening to who this new character, who this person is that we're about to meet, that we may be introduced to. So it's page 1. It's page 1 of Lady Gunfighter. Let me show you another page here. So again, using the same idea. Let's see if I can get this zoomed in. Same idea. I start with the smallest size first. And here we see a little bit of caption of the description of what we've got here. Maybe some inner dialogue from the character herself. Down here we see silhouette of a figure on a horseback riding along the cliff. A little skeleton in the foreground. Panel 2, we have this woman on horseback, and she's kind of got a stern look, as the script may say. And panel 3, she's coming around the turn here, and this wolf crosses her path. She says something to the wolf. She's looking kind of over her shoulder at this small little shack that she's about to ride into. A little bit more dialoguing. And what I try to do too, oops, let's see. Can't see if nope, didn't put it in here. I'll share that later. So this is just, again, the layout gives you a sense of what I'm getting a sense of from Mike and Brian. And once they give me the approval for that, I then carry that over into the final line art. So here, I'll show you these. Okay, so let's see here. Oops. So here's the 11 by 17 on this one. And there was a lot more to figure out here. I wanted to get this particular face worked out. I wanted you to just see a hint of who she was. I didn't want to show her eyes in this shot here, looking back. I kind of had this shot for panel 3 worked out pretty well. And I was a little nervous, anxious for this shot because I wasn't feeling it. I needed to get her look down as the first big shot reveal of Lady Gunfighter, and I was nervous, maybe. I don't know. I really wanted her to look badass. I wanted her to look cool, but something about it, even at this stage, I was like, it just wasn't landing for me. And so I thought, I'll figure it out. And so then here we have the final page. So here we have a better shot of Lady Gunfighter cruising through the scene. Here we have a dead sheriff. Looks like he got a couple of arrows to the chest from some previous unknown situation. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing. And here's a shot itself of Lady Gunfighter. This is funny because this is a redraw. This is actually like this is a patch. Like I cut this out and glued another piece of paper as I normally will do to give you a sense of like, no, this isn't good enough, and I had to redraw it. But that's her showing up to the scene, riding in on her horse, and then here you see the wolf that she comes across, and then down below you get her checking out the shack. She's about to confront some people there. And so all of this has a little bit of inner dialogue of her talking, kind of carrying on being the Lady Gunfighter that she is. I've got one more page I'll share with you. Try not to reveal too much of the story, so just give you a sense of the visuals without revealing too much.
Well, you know I'm going to buy it.
So this particular page takes place a little bit later in the story. And here, there we go. And so here, Lady Gunfighter is confronting someone. And I went back and forth a couple of times with this page because I really wanted to create an interesting way of getting the story across and still focusing on the attitude she carries and having a big shot of her. So they're kind of having a little bit of an argument. Lady Gunfighter holding her gun to the chin of this guy, and she lets him off the hook, so to speak. He's still a little tense, trying to keep her in shadow, kind of keep her kind of mysterious, you know. And the way she's handling the gun continues to make him nervous because he knows the history she has and her marksmanship, and he'd rather not cross paths with her. So he's trying to give her the information that she's requesting as tightly as he can without revealing too much, you know. And as she walks away, she fires the gun. And he kind of laughs at her and he says something along the lines of, wow, I thought you were a better shot than that. So this sequence was a little bit of a push and pull in that she's kind of threatening this guy for information. And by the end of the sequence, she gets somewhat what she needs, but she isn't completely satisfied, and he thinks he's pulled one over on her. And I didn't like the end result of this particular panel. I thought that she could have been a little bit more pronounced. She could have been cooler, a little bit more opportunity for an expression of attitude, or I don't know. So I did change that up. I'll show you here. I'll show you here's the layout that I blew up. I was pretty happy with panels 1 and 2. I thought the expressions worked. I didn't need to work out too much. I wasn't too sure about this face, and so at this stage, I'll mess around with it and try to adjust it with Sharpie and pencil. I was a little bit happier with this expression. Wholesale, I just still was not feeling this, and I just did not want to even touch it because I thought that's not even going to land. I need something better. I'll show you the final on that. All right, so here we see panel 1. I framed them in silhouette, and I kind of have her overpowering him. You know, I really wanted to give the feeling that she's in control here, you know, and you really get the sense just due to the angle that they have. And then panel 2, the expression and the gun on the chin says it all, so to speak. Once she removes the gun from his chin in panel 3, you get a little bit of a sense of relief from the guy in that panel, and he's not under the gun, so to speak, anymore, you know. And but he's a little cautious. Panel 4, he still has this kind of look, a glare to the gun that he's uncertain, you know, a little bit of sweat beating down. And then finally, I got the shot I wanted with Gunfighter. I felt it reflected a little bit of attitude in her eyes and in her expression. And she still got that shot off like I wanted her to. You know, I broke the panel border and had her on an open panel just shooting her gun. She has these cursed bullets, and they go in any direction that they need to go in. And so the thing with the bullets is that even though she could be firing off screen, not towards her intended target, these bullets will find their way to the target. It's like they almost sniff him out or something. There's a lot to be revealed about these bullets and this particular gun that Lady Gunfighter wields. And again, she's a tough as nails kind of a person. She's got a crazy kind of background. She's got a lot of stuff that she has to deal with, and she's chasing down these demons. You know, she's got to contend with some stuff, and she wears it on her face. So I really wanted to give that vibe about her, and uh, you don't want to mess with somebody like her. Is the impression I wanted to give. But I want her to look cool as hell and be sassy. You know, like I want her to be a badass, but I want somebody to go like, man, I would love to be that badass. You know. And in the last panel, you see there that the guy says, I thought you were a better shot than that. Um, and there's a visual gag that follows that precedes this page. But again, these are just the setups for certain things, and I wanted to share a little bit of the creative process behind Lady Gunfighter and what we have going on. I'm lucky to have finished the first half with the look that I wanted, and I'm just glad that I got the chance to work on this awesome book. And there's a lot of cool stuff that I got to learn from in the first half of this book. It's weird because it was a whole new character. And again, like I had mentioned earlier in our chat, there's a really fun thing about doing these books with Brian and Mike. And, you know, it's based on our merit. Like, what do we bring to the table? There's no history to this character. There's no history that anyone knows of. So we can't lean on any of that. And it's kind of nerve wracking. It's kind of exciting when you can land it, and it really pushes me to go for my best, you know. And unlike La Muerta, where I've had 9 48-page books in which to understand the character and learn about her, this is my first outing with this character, and so I feel like I had to work my way out with like, well, how would she stand? How does she look? What's her pissed off look? What does she do when this happens? How should she look doing this? You know, and it's like you create the look and the feel for something that is brand new, and that's what's really exciting to me because you want it to carry through and become the brand or the identity of the character as it is in the story you're telling. And so I pour over the stuff that Brian and Mike like and what they want to see in the character. And so there'll be a lot of changes or adjustments because you want it to have that feel that says, okay, that's a Coffin Comics book. That character's badass. There's a checklist in my mind of the things
Yep.
that it needs to be, and I don't want to disappoint anybody. I'm excited, and I think I just can't wait for people to see what this book's going to be like. You know.
It's going to turn out well because I love Western books, so I'm already
Me too.
sold. I'm a
Yeah.
huge Westerns guy. I love it. You know, give me, John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, and you give me, High Plains Drifter kind of stuff. I'm all over
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a fun book. Somebody asked a question though, and I think we kind of talked about this earlier. So yes,
Correct. Yeah, I only
it is
found
a
out
true statement.
recently, like I didn't think about the scheduling, but the only reason I'm not doing this new La Muerta chapter is because I'm determined to see this second half of Lady Gunfighter. Brian and Mike gave me the option. They said, hey, you just finished up the first half of Gunfighter. Do you want to jump right into La Muerta or do you want to finish Gunfighter? And I kind of just wanted to finish Gunfighter because I was wearing that hat already,
Mhm.
you know. And like I said before, I only just got to hang out with her, and I was already gonna leave her, and I was like, oh, it just got good. Like I just got into it with this character. Let's go. Let's get this thing going, you know. And I felt like I was getting a good rhythm going with the pages and the look of the character, and I just thought, you know what, let's just see it all the way through. And with the ideas that Brian and Mike put together for the story, it's like it's a it's a it's a dangerous west that Brian and Mike have in store for people with this story. It's really dark. It's almost, dare I say, like medieval. You know, it's like there's some mostly dangerous people that we come across in this story. The world is kind of grimy. It's kind of dangerous. It's edgy. Everything's trying to kill you, and it's just well suited for the attitude and the approach that Lady Gunfighter has. And I just think it's cool. I don't think I don't think I've read a comic like this, and so I'm excited to, like I said, help Brian and Mike bring this yarn to life. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what people think, and maybe we can expand on the idea and the universe, well, even the genre with this story. So I'm excited, and again, that's part of why I'm not doing the new La Muerta chapter, is because I really, given the chance, I wanted to see this particular book through all the way instead of changing hats and jumping to La Muerta and then changing back to Gunfighter. I was just about done, and I thought, let's keep it, let's wrap it up, And but like I said, given the chance, as soon as I'm done with Gunfighter, I've got some. I was actually talking to Brian and Mike about some like creative, interesting ideas for the look that we're playing around with for La Muerta. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it's something that we could play around with when I jump back on. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to bug him again about it. If it's just something to just spice it up, make it interesting, maybe just for a particular storyline. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and we kind of saw that a little bit. Like we've seen La Muerta have a couple different facial, like looks
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah.
different books. Like I've got one of the originals where she has the different look, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we've also seen like with Roja, the
Oh,
design that
yeah.
you
Yeah.
did with her, and
Yeah.
with Mama Z. Now I'm gonna always advocate to bring Mama Z back because that
She's
was one
always
of
around the corner, man. I
yeah
think Mama Z is, she's like the chocolate of the chocolate and peanut butter between, no, that's terrible. It's like peanut butter and jelly. She's like the peanut butter of that type of situation. She's like the Joker to La Muerta's Batman,
mm,
Mama Z is, what a cool idea those guys came up with. I love the idea of her. She constantly reinvents her look, so to speak. I think she
mhm,
can. I think I was telling Brian one time. It's like she's like the combination of a narco drug lord and Lady Gaga. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And so the theatrical appearance that she carries is intentional. It's meant to scare the shit out of her subordinates. She's a drug cartel leader, so it's not like she's got the brightest people
No,
working for her. I mean, she's got some dangerous people all around her, and so it's an intimidation factor. It's like a pissing contest, and for her, the theatrics are all part of the whole thing in my mind. So she's an interesting character. I'd love to see. Oh man, I would love to see a one shot with her, like from her perspective.
hmm
That
like
would be really cool.
why she hates La Muerta so much, and why is she going after her so much? It's
Well,
like
I was thinking more of like, what if you put someone worse than her in a story where it's like two warring drug cartels, and Mama Z looks like the hero in the story, right? And you could have it to where the person she's going up against is like shittier and evil, more evil than she is. And so then, by comparison, she just seems like a saint, and now all of a sudden you're rooting for Mama Z.
oh yeah,
That would be
Mama
kind of
Z versus
cool.
Roja.
Yeah, dude, something like that. That would be amazing. Roll Up is exciting. I'm really happy that everybody dug the character as much as they did. I didn't know, the idea that Brian and Mike had about it. We were kind of kicking it around for a minute, and it was just a unique spin on the concept. But I don't know. I don't think I don't feel like we've seen the last of Rohan.
I hope not because it seems like we killed her off within the first issue, and I'm like, characters don't really die too easily in Coffin.
No,
You
not in
know,
comics, right?
nobody really dies in comics. They come back somehow. Um,
Yeah.
So we know we'll see her back. Um, but the one thing that I wanted to ask you about was if since you're not doing La Muerta, right? You're doing Lady Gunfighter only.
For now,
Who's
yeah,
go-
yeah.
who is going to be doing the Lady Death La Muerta? Because all it's Gomez gang. We want to know who's going to
Oh,
take
right.
care of it while you ain't there.
Yeah, honestly, I have no. I know that when I was asked, this or that, um, I kind of thought, well, I want to kind of see Lady Gunfighter through, and they said, okay, well, because this has to happen at a certain time frame, and the way that Coffin Comics has all the books
Yeah.
structured, like it's on rails. They got to think things got to get going, and so I'm not sure. I know that it's already in production. I know that it's working. I don't know exactly who's working on it. Um, I'm a little nervous myself because I just don't know what to expect. I just thought like, oh my gosh, someone else is drawing this character. What do I do? What do I think? And
Mhm.
it's not a big deal. I just think I've been the only artist on the book up until now, so I don't know. I'm excited. I'm curious to see what they bring to the table. It's always good to see new energy, and who knows? Maybe whoever that is working on it will kind of stoke the fires for myself and make me see things in a way I hadn't considered that may influence how I choose to handle her moving forward. But like she's near and dear to my heart, and like I'm always looking forward to picking that back up and carrying on. But like I said, I think the break might be nice because I've maybe what is it? The absence makes the heart grow fonder.
That's right. Well, and of course, what Nicole's going to ask. Will you at
Oh
least
yeah,
be? Will you at least be doing some of the covers for it?
I think so. I haven't been
I would
asked
hope
yet.
so.
Yeah, I think so. I if anything, I know I'll ask. I'm always. But that's the thing. The interesting thing is like I think with what I using the same I guess the attitude I had mentioned earlier, where I'm always trying to see like I love the idea of uh, building something up on the merit of what you can accomplish. It's like with my covers, I'm always trying weird shit, and I'm trying. I'll use toned paper or colored paper or
Mhm.
watercolor something, and it's always because I want to just capture an energy or a feeling, and I always want to change it up and evolve and try new things. And just recently, I started doing some sketch covers or some sketches with La Muerta. I did it. I was using like some ink wash and graphite,
Mhm.
and just like changing it up to look different. And I'm really a huge influence for me, even to this day, is Bill Sienkiewicz.
Mhm.
And when you look at what the kind of work he does, like the guy's all over the map, and he does it's always got this energy to it that's so cool. And the fact that it's all done by hand on paper and paints and pens and markers, and I just love that stuff, man. It's like operating without a net. It's like being a magician and performing in front of a live audience where, it's about the sleight of hand. It's about the illusion created right on the page. And I just love that stuff, man. So I'm always, trying new things. And, I hope to bring some of that energy, some of those ideas to the covers that I would solicit Brian for on this new La Muerta book because, like I said, they're just so much fun trying different things, and it helps them stand out against the crowd of amazing artists who all do such awesome art for Coffin Comics. Man, they get some heavy hitters
Oh
doing these
yeah.
covers, man. Like so many talented, amazing people. Like it's like you get intimidated, But for me, I choose to go for like the off-beaten path, kind of weird, quirky stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of worked out. A lot of people like the weird, different stuff that I do. Maybe that it's not so weird, but just the fact that it's traditional medium, a lot of that. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to bringing some of that energy to the covers, and like I said, hopefully, more than likely, I'll get to do some covers for that in a month.
Oh, we all know you will, because there'd be a riot around the Gomez gang if you didn't get to do it as one.
Well,
Between
I'm counting
Nicole,
on
me,
those
or Mark.
guys. Yeah, right. No, those guys are great. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's what I was going to say is like that Lady Death one you did for for a long time ago is watercolor based,
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know,
Oh,
and
yeah, you have that one. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so that one, has not been into a cover yet.
yeah,
So,
that's right. Yeah. There was a
so
series like that was a time when I was just so blown away by the covers I was seeing, and I was like, I've never done cover at the time. I hadn't done that many covers for Coffin, and I wanted to step up to the plate, and that cover in particular was one of the series of covers I started doing where I was like, I want to, can I, can I try to do these kind of things? Let me see, and it was a big learning kind of growth for me where I was trying new things and it paid off, and the tools that I gained in that experience I still use to this day. So it was one of those things where you realize like, oh shit, I just put another tool in my tool belt. And as long as you keep using it and developing it, you can apply it to other things. And things like that are always good, especially it's just like when you try something new at your whatever it is that you choose to do and you realize like, hey, that worked out great. I should try that again later. That was one of those experiences. So yeah,
and I love those. Like, I mean, I love watercolor. Like, you, Don, Sabine, the guys that actually go out and do it, and it's scary. Like, Don told me the same thing. She's just like, it's scary because there's no protection. It's like you're on that paper and that's it.
yeah,
And if you mess up, you got to start all the way over.
yeah.
And
There's no
I'm like,
control Z.
no, there ain't none. And so I'm like, that's why I enjoy it, just to see the differences that's been done on it, because like you see the shading, the colors, and it's not perfect, right? And that's
Right.
kind of the idea is like watercolor is not supposed to be a perfect circle or perfect, thing.
Yeah.
It's to
Yeah.
blend things together. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm a huge fan of it. You were talking about Bill Zikovich, and it's the same way. I've got an Electra print, from Electra, Must Die or Lives. And I said, this is how you do Electra. Should be
Yeah.
the standard for Electra, period, dot. Anybody does
Yeah.
it, go see Bill. And Bill has a huge, like, catalog of stuff that he does, for all these characters. I'm like, that's a good model. That's a good model. That's a good model. What is that one? Because he does some of those oddball ones too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but still, you can look at it, you can tell within like 5 minutes what it is. But it's just
Yeah.
that defining moment, like a Frazetta. Like, when you see a
Yeah.
Frazetta, you know,
Yeah.
if it's a Death Dealer or a Dawn Attack or his old heavy metal stuff, like, what a Frazetta is once you see it. You know,
There's like such a for me with Sienkiewicz, there's such a like a it's almost like a performative aspect to it where it's like you look at it, it looks like, man, I wish I would have seen him draw that shit. That looks so cool, and I just appreciate that about his work, and it's something I don't know. I try to infuse into my own stuff, but it's like an energy that makes you feel like it gives the unique quality. It's like a maybe like a roughness to it or a grittiness to it that I
hmm
appreciate. That almost makes it seem like it was really quickly done or loosely done, but like a controlled fury. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I appreciate the qualities in that stuff. It doesn't seem like as it doesn't feel like meticulous, or it doesn't feel like somebody who gingerly approached something and like kind of did. It just feels like raw energy, like attacking an illustration, and something they have to get poured right out of their head onto the page, kind of a thing. And there's something about that, this kinetic energy that's in the art, that you can feel it. And Sienkiewicz is just, he's the master of that kind of stuff. And it's like it creates like a narrative in your art, because I can do really meticulous backgrounds that can just be really, really, really detailed, that's fun and that's great. But to have the energy to also, or the mindset to also do the other thing, which is just to have the raw energy feel to something, that this is a couple of quick lines to create the silhouette, and to really execute it like that. The comparing of those two things, it's like the yin and the yang, and I just, that stuff just, it really gets me in the lizard brain. I'm like, "Wah," so I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
and that's the fun stuff because you've evolved right over the time,
Yeah.
things you've done.
Yeah.
You've done art, so you found different mediums that are helping you to get where you want to
Yeah.
go now. So in everybody steals from everybody, right? That's just
Yeah.
how this
Sure.
goes.
Sure. Sure.
And everybody has the thing, like how many people we've seen that do the J. Scott Campbell look, right? Or they
Yeah.
do the Jim Lee look or the
Yeah,
Rob Liefeld look. It's like everybody has those certain looks, but that doesn't mean you steal the whole image. You're stealing a piece of it. Hey, I like how you drew this part. Let me
sure.
steal that kind of idea.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing wrong with that, right? It's like it just makes your
I,
art
s-
better over time.
I still do it to this day, you
Yeah.
know. I've there's a lot of people who I follow on social media, and it's mostly just for inspiration, like art stuff. I don't. I only ever post art stuff. I'm not really actually like. I don't share any really social stuff on there, but I'm always looking for inspiration, or I'm looking at other people doing art in a way that make like again hit me in the lizard brain. And a lot of times I'll jump on Instagram or to sometimes Facebook, and I'll see somebody doing something. They're not even drawing like superhero comics or comics at all. They'll be just making art, and the materials they use and how they use them will influence something I'm considering. And I'll think like, holy shit, if I can get my hands on something like that, I want to try that. I want to do that. I want to do this. And I think those are the things that keep you evolving and growing and keep you from being stagnant. You know, it's like anybody who's really into whatever it is they're doing. It doesn't have to be comics or art, but you're constantly trying to find new things to plug into what you already are a part of, or what you are doing. And that's to me, I think those are healthy signs that you're on the right path of whatever you choose. Is when you try to integrate it with other things and other mediums and people and stuff like that. And I just think it helps to create like a healthy, kind of rejuvenated impression of something. And you can't always be doing the same thing over and over. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's like for me, I'm a writer, so I write things at a certain style that I like to write at. But
That's cool.
you have to
What do you write?
break
Do you like comic stories?
short stories.
Like what kind of short stories?
Usually like fantasy based. Like I'm writing one now. It's like it's called Death Takes a Holiday. Um,
Wait. Is this like? Are you imagining these stories as like a short story, or like a sequential art, or like?
Maybe as a comic down the road.
I
It's
see.
just
Okay.
kind of flesh out some of the ideas. Like because for example, like Death takes a holiday and he takes over for God. So what does that mean in the universe? You
Hmm.
know, like if God says, "No, Death, you got it. You take it for this amount of time." A year, 2 years. What does that change in the environment? So kind of things like that, like what if scenarios.
That's
Uh,
kind of cool.
so I'm trying to see if I can work it and pitch it down the road, but I've got to get some of the sides of it, the sides of the story, a little harder
How
because
many
it's
pages do you imagine? Like a short story, of a 48
probably
page story,
20
a nine?
to 30, to start off with. But I'm building the outline for about 5 books right now.
Wow, that's amazing. You should do it. You should consider uh, like a bite size thing to see how it feels for you. For example, like I just did Lady Gunfire, half of the first chapter, right? 48 pages. Um, but before that, we had like a 6 page story, right? And we did it in
Hmm.
an anthology book for the Coffin verse. Um, and in that short story, the 6 page story of Lady Gunfighter, it just gave you a morsel, like a taste of what the character's about.
Hmm.
Um, but it encapsulated, it didn't really interfere with the larger story that Brian and Mike had in mind, but it really gave you a flavor for what this concept is, and like maybe in the same way, you could do like a 4 to 6 page, you
Script,
know,
kind of broke down script, as far as because
or like a
like
scenario that would explain like the gist of it. It wouldn't even have to involve the bigger picture, the bigger story you have in mind. Um, like maybe it'd be like what was the title again?
Death Takes a Holiday.
What if it's like the precursor where that's considering like, what, I'm getting tired of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it would be like the prequel or the setup to what would make the larger story. I don't know, give you a sense of his identity, his personality, and infuse like some humor. I'm assuming there's humor, right? So
Of
you can
course.
infuse a little bit of the humor in it. Just give you a taste of what your portrayal of the character is before
Hmm.
you dive deep with him. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I appreciate that.
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's just one of those things I've worked on for here and there, over a couple of years. It's like I put a couple pages this year, a couple pages that year, and it's like if I'm going to do this, I just need to sit down and do it. It's just
Yeah,
one of those things. You just got to put words to page.
yeah. Maybe you start off with just getting like a character sketch, and then you're like, oh, what if? Can you give me another one with like a three quarters, and then maybe a back shot, and now you have a turnaround, and then you just build up your little library of characters. You know?
Definitely, because I have an idea what I want them to look like, but it's not going to be. I'm not going to say politically correct, but it's not going to be what you think death should look like, and not what God should look like.
Intriguing. Yeah, no, I like it, dude. That's cool.
So
It's
something
really
different. But I didn't want it to seem like Sandman either, though. So
right,
it's like
right.
because Sandman's done some things that are similar, but it's like I don't want it to be the same like Sandman or Preacher. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Dude, you could even do it to even help it stand out even more. You could even do it in a way where it wouldn't even be in comic book format. Maybe it could be like a smaller digest format, or
mm,
like an odd shaped thing that would give it a unique quality and make it stand out. And maybe instead of full color, it's like three colors, or like
mm,
um, black, white, and red, or like I don't know, give it some sort of contrast to give it a unique vibe. In that way, it isn't in the market with a bunch of other shit. It's just kind of a standalone weird thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I'm a
Um,
huge black and white guy. I mean, for that reason, like I've been reading it forever. Like I would read all the Walking Dead. I was like, and I grew up with Night of the Living Dead. In the black and white
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
From back then. So it's like maybe black and white would actually be the better medium for it. But it's hard because color is what everybody's used to. So black and white's a little harder to sell sometimes.
That could be true, but I think it could also help it stand out. Like
Hmm.
if you isolated the color, like there was this guy Darwin Cook. He did some kind of crime noir comics at IDW, and it was like black, white, and like orange, or like it was like black, white, and a color, right? And so the color was kind of like the mid tone, and the white were the hots, and the black was the dark. And so with that color combo, they made like this kind of unique. It almost felt like a '60s style three color comic, right?
Mm,
Which fits with Darwin's kind of approach to art. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, but it was a really unique comic, and I think it made the book stand out. And it was like it didn't look low budget at all. Maybe it's something to consider. You know what I mean?
definitely, definitely. I'll definitely take a look at that and see. Because like if you remember the old Archie Digest sizes that we used to have as kids, you see them in the supermarket.
Right,
$2, right?
right.
That was cheap. Had a bunch of stories. Now, granted, they were all laughy, funny stories, but I remember those. And that still
Yeah,
stands out to my mind today. Is the old
yeah,
digest editions.
yeah.
So,
Dude, today with the kind of, I mean, the kind of way that you can connect with readers or people who are fans of comics or just stories. It's like you could put anything together as long as it's a well done or well executed idea, and you're able to cater to a certain audience. It's like you never know. You can find an audience for anything as long as you get your story across and it's delivered in a way that makes sense and has a cool style to it. Now more than ever, man, there's all kinds of ways in which people can consume this content, and they're ready for it. People are excited to read all kinds of things. Um, I think some of the manga that is coming from Japan that is now getting published here. There's like stuff about baseball teams.
yeah,
There's all kinds of stuff. People enjoy all kinds of different formats and the stories that they read about. It's just great stories come in any package. Uh,
definitely. Well, and that's the thing is like I've seen so many stories, recently, like especially with Kickstarter, right? Like Kickstarter
yeah,
has changed the dynamic of comics in general. Like
yeah,
anybody can do a Kickstarter now.
yeah.
Now, does that mean it's a high quality comic? Not all the time, right? Like we've
Right,
we've seen the
right.
ones that just don't look so well. Brian is the standard guy for Kickstarters, hands down.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah,
it down, Pat.
yeah.
And so everybody is looking at like trying to see how does he do it? How does he make? Well, he's got all the people behind him. Like
Sure.
he supports all of them. I work with Ethereal Comics. They're the same way. They have a group of people. You got to have that people with you. If you don't, then it's not going to work right, and so you're not
Yeah.
going to have the support. So I think that standard of Kickstarters um, is going to change. I think over time as well, right? So like, not just from the cost perspective, but the
Hmm.
aperture, because we've got
Hmm.
so many now out there. There's so many books out there, so many independent. Your wallet only goes so far, so you've got
Yeah,
to be
it's
picky and
interesting.
choosy. It's like you can only get so much, and like so many things. So you pick and choose
Yeah.
what you can get. Instead of getting that higher tier, you might get five other Kickstarters at a lower tier. Just to
Yeah.
survive. Like
Do
Coffin,
you
I always support Coffins for that reason.
do you find do you buy more Kickstarter comics, or do you wait? Let me rephrase that. Um, do you buy as many comics at a comic book store, or do you spend more money on Kickstarter comics?
More on Kickstarter. Like my LCS is literally the books that aren't on Kickstarter.
Hmm.
And like if Coffin puts out their LCS versions, I'll pick those up. So most of the stuff I buy is from Opus Comics right
Hmm.
now, who
Hmm.
does Death Dealer. Um, and so they're doing Death Dealer, Dominatrix from Gene Simmons, and then they're doing a couple of other books. But and then Siren's Gate, who's done by Shannon Maurer. Um,
And those are
so,
the ones you get at your local comic shop.
and that's it. That's literally it. Everything else is Kickstarter or buying direct, from artists or writers.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. Like I don't understand how comic stores do it nowadays. That's so tough.
It's hard. Like even my LCS here, like they're known for back issues, really. Like you
Hmm.
want back issues, they've got it, for it.
Yeah.
But then they still have. There's not a lot of big two, right? That's on Kickstarter today. It's
No, well,
mostly
they still use the comic shops, right?
they still use the comic shops. So the big two is who's making the money through the LCS, whereas the
Right.
independents are going through the Kickstarters and they're getting what people actually want.
Hmm.
So like
That's interesting.
that's why I don't read the big two, because
Right.
they got to the point where you'd have to read 30 books just to get the one storyline from Marvel.
Hmm. Right. Right.
And you start thinking $4.99 a book. That adds up over time.
Holy shit, that's a lot of money. I didn't know it. It's been a while since I bought a Marvel or DC book. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
I bought an Image book, and that was like $3.99. That's I
yeah.
mean, it's still pricey. You
It's
know?
I mean, it's not going to be the $1.25 that we paid in the '90s. It ain't going to ever be
Right.
that price, and,
Right.
and I don't expect it to be, because the paper's different, the artists are different.
Right.
But the thing being is like I don't need 100 issues, whereas Brian puts out so many Kickstarters a year. That's a
Right.
consecutive story, right?
Right.
Ethereal puts out their stuff. You've got Ryan Kincaid who puts out his stuff for con artists. You got Marat doing his stuff with Counterpoint.
Yeah.
And those are sporadic, right? They're like every quarter, maybe every other month or something like that.
Do you
So
do digital or just the hard copy books?
I do both. I read digital but keep physical books.
So when you buy like from Coffin, you read the digital version and then store the prints.
I store all the physical ones. Now, what I will do is actually look at the hardcover versions from
Oh,
Coffin.
okay. Okay.
I love the old school hardcover ones. Even if I've read the digital, I'll still pull out the hardcover if I'm going to reread it, a story.
Hmm. That's
So,
interesting.
and like all the premiere editions that come out, I've got all those cataloged together in the Lady Death binders. Those
Oh,
little
wow.
that they
That's
come out
cool.
just to keep them all consecutive. And then I have like there's a ton of short boxes over here.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and mine are all done by artist or by series or whatnot. It's like you've got a box, Dawn's got a box, Ebass has a box, Sabine has stuff, so does Colette. Um, so that's kind of how I arrange my things, and it makes it easier for me. Um, but I'm still going to read it regardless.
Right.
Yeah, but for me, I like to support the physical side because I
Sure,
love
sure.
covers. You give me a metal cover, you give me a foil cover today that we never had that before. Like,
Do you think the metal cover stuff and the foil stuff, do you think people are still into those? today?
Not as much. Like I think when it first came, I'm watching it die down, right? Like remember when the prices of those came out? They were a
The
hundred
metal
dollars a
covers?
metal. Yeah, they were like $100 for a metal
Yeah,
cover,
yeah, yeah,
$70
yeah, yeah.
for a hollow foil. You're starting to see those prices come down because people are starting to lose kind of the interest in it, unless it's like
Hmm.
a special metal, like like Brian does the black metal or the scarlet metal, or like
Sure,
this
sure.
one. I've got the one I got from you, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's cool.
You
Yeah,
know,
man.
the
Yeah, those are
scarlet,
awesome.
and like those to me, like those are specific ones I would want, right? I
Right.
don't need every metal cover unless it's like
Sure.
an artist that I'm actively going through. If you
Yeah.
put one out, I'll get it from you. If Don puts one out or
Hmm.
Monty puts out one, I'll get those because I just support you guys. But I don't need every metal cover from everything.
Do you like the homage covers, or do you like those?
I like some of them. I just don't need all of them. And it's funny because Steven and I are good friends. Um, and so I just had Steven finish up a commission for me for Christmas present. Um, and he does every one of these Hell Witch, the Lady Death, La Muerta ones. And some of them are like, okay, I've seen this one. I've seen this one. I like this one. And I actually had him remark one of my Lady Death ones. But
Okay.
um, to me, the one that gets me the most is that ASM 300. It's been homaged by everybody and their brother. And it's like, if
That's
I,
right. I remember you saying this, and you're like,
oh,
you're done with that
I'm
one.
done with that cover. I'm done. I've got the one that Marat did, and I've got one that Steven did. And I said, I don't want to see him again.
You know, the one I feel like that about a little bit is the Punisher Spider-Man. Uh,
Yep. Punisher. And then the Venom sitting over Spider Man, that one's been homaged. The
how
old
about
Thomas
the
Bar.
the Spawn one too?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's like Spawn jumping number one. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, like there's some that you're like, all right, that's done. It's like it should be like a rule of thumb, like after a certain number, like I don't know, it's been a while, but I haven't seen one in a while. But when I do see them, I get like, whoa! Like when you see like a Jack Sparrow cosplay at a
Mm.
convention, like they should pull him over and like write him a ticket, like, all right, dude, this is a party foul, like. No more
You're going
Jack
to hit it.
Sparrows, dude. That's
No
20 years
more.
old. Like you need to freshen up your cosplay, man.
Especially like when you go to the convention, did you see five guys that are stormtroopers, five guys that want to be Darth Vader, and then you
Oh,
got the
right,
one guy,
right.
and there's always somebody being Deadpool or Wolverine.
Yeah. I don't know why, but you know what? You're right. That you bring up a good point because like, stormtroopers, how many do you see all the time? But I don't mind those as much as it bothers me to see a Jack Sparrow. Like I feel like a Jack Sparrow is. There was a time when it was a hit. Like it was
Mm,
the hotness. Everybody was and all these guys swaying around the convention center, being drunk or whatever. And now it's like, nah, that's played out, dude. Like you need to
yeah,
step away. But even though, like you said, I mean, there's still stormtroopers, Boba Fett's, and Darth Vader's running around. That doesn't seem to bother me as much. I don't know why.
and I think it's because where I live here, like I go to a lot of smaller conventions here. We have
Do they
one.
do cosplay?
They do cosplay, but it's not good cosplay.
Oh, what does that
It's
mean? What does that mean?
like a bunch of cardboard got put together, and they made that dude. It's like that don't look so good. Like
That's the best kind, Nathan. It's made with love.
yeah, nah. But
uh,
we have a convention here called Cowtown Convention, and it's run by
Cowtown?
Cowtown. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. I couldn't hear you.
yeah, and it's run by Charter Comics over here.
That's
But
cool.
what they do is they bring in a bunch of artists, right? And they bring in a bunch of
Hmm.
writers and people, and it's only a comic convention, right? It's not a pop culture. It's like the old school comic convention.
That's
And
cool.
so they have some cosplay, but it's not, like I said, not the best cosplay all the time. There was
Right.
one dude, he wore a Hulkbuster outfit, and it was done in Doctor Doom colors. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Nice.
That was
That's
kind of cool.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was actually like he had to get up in it. I'm like, okay, you should win that one. But it was
Yeah.
kind of cool. Like this last time, we had Marissa Pope, Mike DeBalfo. We had, let's see, who else did we have? We had Sadie and Rich. She came this last time. Which
Are Marissa Pope and Mike DeBalfo, do they do work together? Do they
they do.
is it like,
She's the understudy of Mike.
say that again?
She's the understudy for Mike.
Marissa Pope?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Because
she's learned a lot from him.
because I think they sat across from us at New York Comic Con, and it was Marissa Pope and Mike,
Mm.
and I I just didn't know if it was like a penciler colorist kind of thing, or a penciler inker kind of thing, or you know what I mean? Because I've seen their name kind of combined like that at shows before, and I had no idea.
Yeah, she's learning from Mike on what to do.
I
And
see.
so that's why if you actually look at their artwork styles, you can
Right.
see some of the similarities there. Like,
Maybe that's what I mean, though. Maybe I thought, because I thought it was either Mike's or see, I was imagining Mike was penciling it and she was the colorist or something like that. You
mm,
know what I mean? I just didn't know, and I don't know them well enough to be like, hey, what's the deal here? What's going on here?
yeah,
You know what I mean? I don't know them like that, but like I said, I sat across from them at New York Comic Con. Well, let me ask you this: so, like, since you're in Texas, what's the best show in Texas? What's a good show to do in Texas? Dallas Fan Expo, is that the best
Fan
one?
Expo will get you the most foot traffic. I'll tell you that. Like, if you
Have you
want
been
people,
to a bunch of the other different shows in Texas?
yeah, I've been to Fan Expo, Fan Festival, Cowtown, the
What about
North
Alamo
Dallas,
City Comic Con?
Alamo City. No, because that's further away from Dallas.
That's San
So
Antonio, right?
San Antonio, yeah. So
Okay.
that's down there. Houston has some too down there.
What are those
Uh,
like? Have you been to those?
no, I've not left anything past DFW area. So,
Okay. Okay.
but I can tell you from ours, Fan Expo is the best one for having the most people at it. It's the best one. Like if you want to get the most bang for your buck, like if you've got a bunch of stuff to get signed or remarked or things like that, Fan
Right. That's a
Expo is
show to do.
yeah, because you've got 8,000 people. Like we have the artist alley goes like this. You know,
Like,
it's
how does it go
huge.
again? It goes like a R. Uh,
Uh, but there's so many people there. But
right.
Cowtown is what I actually prefer because it's
Why is it
quite
just more intimate?
it's more intimate. It's just about comics, and you
That's
actually get to
cool.
sit down and talk to people. Like getting to sit down to talk to Sabi and Rich for 15-20 minutes. You ain't gonna do that at New York Comic Con. You know that. You ain't
Yeah,
gonna
that's
do that at
true.
San Diego or even at Fan
Right.
Expo half the time.
Right. Yeah.
So it was nice to be able to sit. Like, I haven't seen her in probably 10 years. You
Wow.
know, and it's because I lived in California before. So
Right.
living in California, she would come out to San Diego or whatnot. We'd go down to that one.
Where did you
But
live in California?
I lived in Santa Maria,
I don't
so
even know where
that's
that
up
is.
north past Santa Barbara.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So you're almost like by San Luis Obispo.
Literally like 10 minutes, 20 minutes from San Luis Obispo.
Wow. Okay. How
Yeah.
long were you there?
Oh, I was there from 2016 through last year.
Holy shit. So you just moved to Dallas last year.
Last year, yeah.
Oh wow. How do you like it so far?
I love Dallas. There's so much stuff to do here for the kids because
What does your
that's the
wife
thing.
think of Dallas?
She enjoyed it because that's the thing is being in Santa Maria is a retirement home area.
Hmm.
So
Do you guys
like
do either of you have family in Dallas?
no, neither one of us do, but my work is here. My one of our
Okay.
corporate offices was here. So where I lived in Santa Maria, I was 3.5 hours from my corporate office. So I worked completely 100% remote.
So
Um,
wait, well, okay, this is kind of a weird question. All right, so now you're working and living in Dallas, right?
yeah,
Um, but do you have a lot of friends? Do you hang out with anybody in Dallas?
I do. I've got a couple of friends here that's been here before I got here. I've known them for years
How
before
do
I
you know
moved out.
them, or how come they're in Dallas? Like, what is it they are? Is it just like from the military or from your job?
No, it's from the toy community actually. So I used to be, I'm still
How
a
cool
huge
is
toy.
that?
I'm a huge toy collector, and
That's awesome.
so what we would do is we had a group that we had all met in. It was called the Syndicate Toy Hunters a long time ago, and so we all had talked, just like the Sworn, right? We
Sure,
talked to people, and then we got to meet people, and
sure.
then they lived here. So when I got here, I just went out and met them up, and then
Oh,
we
that's
talked.
cool.
Yeah, good. it worked out great to have friends here. Like my wife's Filipino, so she doesn't have any family here. You
So is
know,
that
so
weird during the holidays? What are you guys gonna do for the holidays?
like for us, we have the grandma. She comes in, she flies in for either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and like we're gonna go drive to Ohio to see
This
my
year?
family. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is because my family's in Ohio and Kentucky.
So
So
when you is that for Thanksgiving or for Christmas?
for Christmas, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll
Wow.
drive up there. That's why I got to go get tires tomorrow.
That's
But
interesting. Well, I
then
mean,
a
because
whole
I only ask because like well, you have two kids, right, or one?
five.
You have five kids.
I
Holy
have five
cow!
kids.
You're
I have
making an
a
army.
well, I've got a basketball team at least.
The
Yeah.
Simmons Army. Well, I'm just saying, like, if one day you're like, "Hey, let's go out," who's gonna watch the kids? You know, that kind
Well,
of stuff.
and that's kind of the thing is like we kind of like break it up over time. Like, hey, all right, Nate, you go to the convention this day, then I'm going to go do
Sure,
something this day or
sure,
something like that.
sure.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
always work it out, just like with Swornfest, right? Like I'm going to fly out from here to Swornfest and then have that, and then come back, and then whatever she wants to do, she gets to go do whatever she wants, right? Because that's just fair. That's how it should be. And so
They can only gang up on one of you at a time.
well, and we're both disciplinarians, so it doesn't work out for the kids too well.
Wow. So okay, so wait, let me see. What we're talking about, like from ages
So I've
1
got
to 7?
11,
Uh-huh.
8, 7, 4, and 18 months.
Wow. That's amazing. I don't know how you do it. That's amazing.
I don't either. But if it wasn't for my wife, I couldn't do it.
Gosh, man, that especially like if you're like, all right, then when she hands you the baton and she's like, I'm out, I'm gonna go hang out with the girls. See you later. You know.
Yep. And we do that. Like, hey, I'm going to go out and do, okay, I got them, you know.
You're help me. So
And that's
do you take any of them with you to the conventions?
not yet. They're too young yet.
Yeah.
Because I think once my 11-year-old gets to be about 13, I think she'll
Hmm.
be okay then.
But
But
wait a
it's like
minute, you said you were a toy collector,
I
right?
am. I'm a huge toy.
What was the toy mafia you were in again? Tell me the name.
The Syndicate.
The Syndicate. That sounds serious. Like that's gotta be like a weird oxymoron, right? Because like here you are, a grown ass man with like these toys that like that's gotta be like, tantalizing for like almost 6-year-old or like a two. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
god! Like they see your stuff and they're like, I need to play with that. Like.
Oh, they know.
How do you like no you can't put these are mine.
Oh, they know. They will be in such trouble if they touch anything in my office. And that's why everything. That's why I have my own office at home for that
Sure,
reason. Since I work from home too, it's
right.
like anything in Dad's room, stay out. If you come to Dad, you can stand it right here.
So is at any point is it like a here I bequeath to you this
Mhm.
Tony Stark Iron Man, or is
Yeah,
anything
I
like
give them
that?
transformers and stuff to play with. Like, hey, go take this. I don't need it no more. You know.
That's kind of cool because you're like the king with all these amazing things, and you bring down these things, and they're like, oh my gosh, this amazing toy, because your toys, for whatever reason, the grown up toys are like way more articulate and lifelike than obviously kids' toys or whatever. But
Yeah,
well,
and
that's an interesting dynamic.
they're more expensive too. So that's
I
why they won't touch
know that's crazy.
Excuse me. Yeah, and that's the thing. But I've been collecting stuff. I mean, I've got old Chaos toys up here. I've got old
Oh
stuff like
wow.
that.
I've seen like I don't know, one of the shows you did, the camera angle was reversed and you just saw the army of plastic behind you.
mm,
And I
yeah,
think that might have been the oh, you're gonna show me. I'm looking at your camera. Oh my god, look at all the plastic. Holy cow. How do you what do you like how do you dust that? Like that's
you take them down, and then you dust it. So I do
oh man.
one shelf at a time.
That must take like a month.
It takes a good long time, especially for like the old stuff, because you got to be careful with it.
I'm sure, dude. Like when I go to like we're going to Japan in December for the Tokyo Comic Con, and when we go down there, we make sure to go to the shops to go look at the toys or the manga. Sometimes they have cool books. I don't try to buy too many of them because I can order the same book here on Amazon and get it in English, and at least I can read the tankobon here.
Yeah,
Versus if I buy it there, I'm just looking at the pictures and making the story up,
yeah.
But anyway, you go to these places and you see these meticulous collections of like figures and figurines and like all these genres, and it's like they're so articulate and detailed, and like just man, there's so much to these little things, and all I can think about when I look at them is like, look at all the crevices that the dust is gonna sit in, and I get like all like about it because I just imagine I want to keep it pristine. You know what I mean?
And it's kind of hard. It's like I collect a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
but like mine usually is around Transformers is my number one.
Interesting.
Then
So what's your number one like the toy that you have where you go, that's my pillar?
that guy,
The Unicron. Holy
he,
cow. Does he transform?
he does. He transforms into a planet.
Holy shit. How often
It,
do you transform him?
it takes an hour to do
Oh
that,
my
so,
gosh.
so it takes
Holy cow.
a long time. So yeah, maybe once a year. He sits on that shelf and things go around him.
Oh wow. That's amazing. When did you get him?
Let's see, 2021, I think,
Oh wow.
because it was a
Yeah.
Hasbro Lab exclusive, and so I bought it then, had it shipped out to me, and I'm like, it comes in a box about this big and about this
Holy cow.
tall.
Wow. He's
That made it
massive.
that made it fun to get shipped to here.
Oh, I can only imagine. So do you have some of your toys that they just turned into like these collectible things, and you're like, holy shit, that thing's gone up in value. I need to save it.
Yeah, like some of these old ones, I've got a couple of old ones like Sola Chigoken, from Japan, from Bandai. I collect some of those. Like I have the Voltrons from there, so it's
Oh wow.
like they're gone, right? And some of the DX Chigoken stuff from Macross, like once it sells out, it's gone, and
Right.
it's aftermarket, so they won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the thing is like you were talking about Japan. I spent a lot of time in Akihabara there,
Oh
and
man, we
man,
love going down there.
and Mandarake. Oh yeah, they love me when I show up.
Yeah, I was learning from somebody recently that they now have a system down that there's a way that you can hit a certain number of these shops, and then if you do it a certain way, by the end of the shops, there's a certain shipping station you can go to, and
Hmm.
you just go and take everything you just bought, and they'll wrap it right there for you and ship it to the U.S. that day.
Yep,
Uh,
Mandarake used to do that, and then
oh, really?
but then they got smart. They're like, wait a minute here. They were losing money on
Oh,
shipping
wow.
because they're like, wait a minute, the item would be like $20, right? That you buy,
Right.
but it would cost $40 in shipping. And
Oh,
so it's
wow.
like there's really no, it's not good for business for them.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but like I buy stuff still through Yahoo Japan, but
Mm.
I use it's a service called Bai, and
Mm.
Bai is a similar service where they consolidate everything together. They
Hmm.
put it in a box and they ship it to you in the states from Japan.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
amazing.
um, not cheap though, not cheap.
I can
Especially.
imagine.
Um, so if you're going to ship from there, it better be something you really want. You know,
Hmm.
Mandarake though, you can actually buy straight from Mandarake now, and they ship to the states through DHL and through FedEx, so it's not as expensive.
Huh. That's interesting.
Hmm.
I seen this thing. A friend of mine, he bought like a bunch of snacks, just like junky, like corn chips or I don't know, whatever candy from Japan. Like they send you an assortment pack, and you get to pick through these lists of different types of candy, and they just ship them. Like you get like how they have like I don't know 20, 50, or 20, 25 different types of flavors of Kit Kat,
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah.
Like
I love them green tea matcha ones.
man, they have so many now, dude. They have so many different flavors. Last I saw that, like a creamy pineapple.
Oh, that'd be good.
I was like, what? So I don't know. They're just over the top with that stuff, dude. When we went last, Beth and I went. They had this vending machine, and you could get dessert cakes from this
Mm,
vending machine, and the cakes were in a plastic, like it looked like a 12-ounce Coke can, but it
uh,
was see-through plastic, and what looked like the design, a graphic design around the can was literally just the cream and the fruits inside of the can layered in the cake. Um, so it was like part of it would be like this yellowy sponge look, and then it was white, and then it would be like these perfectly cut strawberries all around it. And you thought it was the design element, like a photo or I don't know, graphic design or something. And then you open the lid, it was like one of those little pop lid
pop
things,
tops.
pop tops, and you realize like no, those were you. It's a see-through can, and you were just seeing the layers of the ingredients, just layered, in a fancy fashion or whatever. But it was just literally this vending machine, and it had like 12 different flavors of dessert, and you could just buy them, and they came out like a soda can. You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
crazy, dude. Crazy stuff over there. I love it.
I miss the beers ones they had. You'd see Sapporo, Asahi, and they'd have all it in a vending machine. Like, oh yeah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, dude, they have the coolest vending machines because it's like on one, it'll be the same machine. One half will be all hot drinks, and then the other half would be like all cold drinks, you
Hmm.
know? And it's just bizarre to see like how many different types of hot coffee you could buy.
Oh yeah, especially when you've been eating curry all night long and you've been doing karaoke, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You need something hot to
yeah,
wake up
dude.
with.
The 7-Elevens there are the best too.
You can't
Uh,
go wrong, especially the ramen. If you need a quick ramen or a quick, takaniku, just go
mhm.
straight to them. $1, $2, and it's cheap too at the 7-Elevens.
Yeah. Their 7-Elevens are. I've never experienced that. Like it's so many things at the 7-Elevens that you wouldn't find at ours. Uh,
It's night and day different. Even in Thailand, it's the same way. It's a
oh,
night and day
really?
different. Oh yeah, like it's just like Japan and Korea with their 7-Elevens. It's like they got everything that you need. You go there, they got it.
Wait, so Korea's like that too?
Korea has them too. Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Ah, dude, I don't know why I don't know what happened to our 7-Eleven game. It's not very good.
we lost faith. I think.
Hey, you want to check out some of the comics I'm reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you. Let's see. All right. So let me. This is a pretty cool book. It's these tankobons, right? So it's
Hmm.
like a digest size comic. This one's called, I think it's Apozemes, and it's by Sutomu Nihai.
Yeah.
And so there's 9 of these tankobons, and these were printed, I want to say like 2017 through 2021. And it's a sci-fi story. But the cool thing about it is that the art is it's really different, and it has a really cool kind of an edge, sci-fi edge to it that I hadn't seen in other manga before. This kind of story takes place like 5,000 years ago, I think, where these people lived on this planet called Aposemes, and they had a huge battle with the inhabitants of the planet, and they were kind of they lost and were forced to live on the surface of the planet. And what's cool about it is that some of these people have this ability that they can have this robotic frame to them. It's like a, I don't know
Like
what you
an
call it.
exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's like an exoskeleton. And so each character that has this exoskeleton suit, each one has its own specific powers and abilities. Like here's one here. Um, and so they kind of defend different kind of cultures and regions, but it's more about these exoskeleton suits, um, and the battle that they have with the other people in these suits. And the story's really unique. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic vibe to it, and I hadn't seen any. Like I said, I hadn't seen anything like it. It's kind of dark and edgy, um, and but yeah, it's Apo Sims, and there's 9 Tankabon. I've only gotten the first 3, and the story so far has been pretty cool. But the thing that I enjoyed most was the visuals, in that,
Mm.
unlike a lot of the manga that I've seen, this had more of a sci-fi edge to it that I kind of appreciated. Um,
It reminds
and
me of Akira.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech, and there's a lot of like dark elements to it. But yeah, this is a good one that I picked up. I didn't pick it up when it came out. I picked it up after it was already out, and I've just been a fan of the book so far. But we'll see how far I get. And like I said, I have only the first 3 tankobon for that, but that one's pretty cool. Um, Here's another book I really liked. It's a 4-issue miniseries called Chroma, and it's from Image Comics. And this one's really interesting. I only have issue 1. I just ordered the trade paperback, which collects all 4 of the chapters. But it's a society of people, this group of people who they live in a colorful world, but this colorful world has these giant monster lizards, and they seek out anything that's colorful. So, in fear of these monsters, attacking them, they've painted their whole city like white and their skin like a gray. Like they try to be without color to everything that they have, and they do it intentionally to survive as a society. And in the story, they're like they're banned from going out into the colorful world in an effort to stop the monsters from attacking them. And so it's kind of like a really bleak vibe to it, but the idea being that you learn that they have this girl called Chroma imprisoned on this in this village, this grayscale village, and she has these 2 different colored eyes, and she's a big part of the mystery behind why these people have these superstitions and why they're afraid of the colorful world outside of their base. See, like here you could see that's the edge of their gray city in this colorful world. Colorful world. It's a really cool book, and it's like it's kind of got like a sci-fi edge to it, but it's got supernatural elements to it as well. Um, yeah, like I said, I've only got the first issue, but there's 4 issues of this. The 4th issue just came out this past month. It's from Skybound, and it's really interesting. And here you see the girl with the 2 colored eyes, and she's a big part of the story, and the revealing of one of the young people there who decide they want to leave this gray town and figure out what's out in the world around them. So yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
if it's
Chroma.
Skybound, Kirkham's is all over that one.
Oh yeah. Here's another one. I don't know if you've heard of this one, King of Spies. Have you heard of this
I've
one?
heard of that one. Yeah, Mark Millar.
Yeah, dude, this book was this is crazy. Its main character, his name is Roland King, and he's more or less James Bond, right? And so he's diagnosed with cancer and has 6 months to live, um, and it's because of his smoking.
Yep.
So the story takes place basically. He decides to, in this 6 months of his life that he has left, he decides to take out all the corrupt politicians, religious figures, and bureaucratic people that he's helped put into power. You know, um, and it's weird because Mark Millar, like I didn't realize how polarizing the guy was. Some people love him, some people hate him. Um, but I was really blown away by this book because of the artist Matteo Scalera, and he does such a good job with the way this story is drawn and portrayed. That's really cool. But it reads like a movie, man, and I think
Mhm.
that's part of what everybody's complaint, I guess, is with Millar. But this was a fantastic book. It felt like if Mark Millar, this was his, I have a 007 story, and fuck it, I'm going to tell it right now. You know what I mean?
He's
Uh,
always does that with his story, and that's why I actually like him for that reason.
Yeah,
Like,
it was different. This is another that was really cool. Do a power bomb. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one. Uh,
I heard that
Dan-
one.
Daniel Warren Johnson. It's a story of this character. Her name is Luna Steel Rose, and she and this other wrestler named Cobra San, uh, they they get invited to the largest wrestling tournament in the universe, and it's called I think what's something the Death Life Pro Wrestling Tournament, and so in this tournament, they battle like different characters or different people from across the universe, right? And the winner wins like this insane prize that like there's a cataclysmic kind of thing, you know. It's like it's not money, it's not it's just beyond, right? And you're dealing with possible supernatural elements, you're dealing with cosmic entities, and wrestling, right? And so this was a really this was a far out book. The premise was really cool, but it had so much cool kinetic energy, and like look at this setup for one of the battles that's about to take place. You know, like he went and like made all. It almost looks like a video game TV screen. You know, like the way he's introducing these characters. Um, and the guy gives you the breakdown of how the tournament plays out. You know what I mean? Um, and it's got like, oh, let me show you. It has this one. It has these. Where did they go? Here they are. Oh yeah, here we go, dude. It has like wrestling orangutans.
There we go.
Isn't that crazy, right? So like these guys are in the tournament too, you know, and like look at that crazy kinetic energy, dude. That's badass. Yeah, that page right there. That's so cool, you know. Um, so this was bonkers fun. This was out there, very different. I like the vibe. I like the just the originality of the material, the way he approached it. You know, I thought that was really cool. Um, another one, another Mark
Oh,
Millar jam. I
yep.
don't know if you've heard of this one, The Magic Order. Um, I think it's basically what five families who secretly kind of protect the earth with their magic powers, wizards, and then members of each of the five families start getting picked off and getting murdered, and it's a whodunit, I guess, basically, right? But the thing that I found most appealing about it was the Olivier Coipel art. I'm a huge fan, but the way he handled Mark's script and the expressive figures and faces was just really something else. I thought that was really cool. Cool combo. I love seeing these two guys do the thing. And again, Millar being Millar, it reads like a movie. You know, it really feels like some sort of. And again, I think some people that's what they don't like about it and about his writing, and there's some who don't care. They enjoy it. For me, I thought it was really cool. I like the way this story unfolded, and I was really into the trade. I liked it a lot. Yeah, there you go, Magic Order. And then the last one was one I just got recently. It's called the Hexagon Bridge by Richard Blake. I don't know too much about this because I only got the one issue, but it deals with these characters who are trapped in this parallel dimension where the environments they keep shifting and changing, and these two people who are trapped in the parallel dimension are hoping that their daughter can find the two people that are missing and pull them out of this dimension. Um, I think the thing that appealed to me most was the way the art looks. It was written and drawn and colored by the same person. So there's a kind of a unique feel to everything. It definitely feels like, one hand is involved in everything. But it's just beautiful. It's a really cool looking book. Um, there's just a lot of exposition at the time, building up the idea of the Hexagon Bridge and what's happening to these characters. Again, I don't know too much about it, but the really stylized approach to the art made it really easy to dive into. It has a very cinematic feel to it. Um, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where this one goes, you know?
Sort of
Yeah,
like the Matrix idea, like we were stuck in the Matrix and you get pulled out of it.
yeah, that's a great analogy, man. That's so yeah, I mean, those are again, I just looking for interesting, weird, different stuff that kind of appeals to me. I'm all over the map with that kind of stuff, though. You know.
And that's what's kind of hard. Is like for me, story writing has to be parallel, right, with the art. If
Right.
the story is trying to do too much and the art doesn't support it, then you get lost and then you get bored.
Yeah,
So the
I can see that.
always enhances the story, and that's what's
Yeah.
going to keep you brought into it. But at the same time, you know, I've known many people who couldn't read well, right? They couldn't read books well, but they could see the artwork and understand what the story was. If you can tell
Right.
the story with the artwork, then that's a win-win already, because then you've already
Yeah.
got somebody who understand both sides of it. Um, and that's how I
Just
feel like a lot of the books that we're reading today are like that. The
yeah.
artwork is really there to support it and enhance it and be able to help tell the story. Um,
Yeah, that's interesting. This is. It's funny you say that. I should have. I didn't bring this up earlier. I should have. There's a series on HBO Max I just finished watching. It's called ah, Scavenger's Reign. The animated series. It's like 12 episodes, right? And each episode's about 20, 25 minutes. And it's this sci-fi story where these people on the ship that's supposed to colonize a planet, the ship explodes over this planet that they're going to colonize. And so a bunch of this crew from this ship crash land on the planet, and they're forced to survive on the planet and figure out a way back, or they're trying to figure out how to get the ship onto the planet to salvage what's left and maybe uh, put a distress beacon out. And so the story takes place after they crash on the planet and land on it. But the way that the story goes from there is insane because there's little to no dialogue, and everything that the characters experience on the planet you see firsthand. So there isn't a lot of them explaining what's happening because they don't know either. And a lot of what happens is through the environment and the creatures that they come across, but they're represented in a way where you, the viewer, and the characters it's happening to experience it at the same time. So it's their first time running into this thing, but you as the viewer, it's the first time as well. So it needs to be very clear what you're looking at. Is that thing trying to eat them? What is that doing? Oh, I see. That's not eating them. That's doing this. And so there's like this really unique thing that happens where the world and the creatures in it become almost like a character in the story because these people, these crash landed survivors are trying to get across this planet to the beacon ship, and through it you see like all the things they have to adapt to and walk through, or things that happen. And it's visually, the artists or the animators have to make it very clear that you can read it visually, and it makes sense to you as a viewer without confusing you, so that you understand what's happening. It's so cool, man. It's a unique experience. You should check it out. It's
Definitely.
Scavenger's Reign.
I'm gonna take a look at that. I like things like that because it makes you think about it too, and I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's kind of the difference too. Is like I like things that intrigue me and make me want to think about what's going to happen, right? Like,
yeah,
where are we getting to next? That's the next stage of this. And if I can't
yeah,
get to there, I'm like, okay, then you've done your job. Like, you've
yeah,
really told the story where I thought it was this, and it's not even that. It's not even close to that, and it's a
yeah,
twist. And
yeah.
so when you hook me into those kind of stories, I'm always going to be it. Um, Rurouni Kenshin was like that for me. Like when I first,
Which
you
one?
know, Rurouni Kenshin.
What is that?
It was called Samurai X in the States.
Okay,
It's an old 90s, 2000s anime. And
okay,
it was about a Batosai killer that turned good during the old feudal war times of Kyoto. And so he knew who he was, he knew what he was doing, but he refused to become that. Like he didn't want to be a killer anymore.
Hmm.
But regardless of wanting to or not, he still had to do it again. So you got to see the change in his nature on it. So it was a really good story. It intrigued you to like what's going to happen, like where's it going to. And there's a lot of like laughter comedy stuff. But there's some OAVs as part of the series, like called Trust and Betrayal, and
What
then
are
Reflect.
OABs?
OVAs,
What are OBAs?
original video animations. They're usually like 40 minutes
Okay.
episodes. Um,
Wow. Okay. Cool.
so they're older, but it was done a lot grittier than just the TV series was.
I
So,
see.
so it kind of like it made you think about it. This is how gritty the TV show should have probably been, but because it was catering to people in Japan, the kids at the
Hmm.
time, they didn't show it at that level.
I
Um,
see.
but I love the storyline. There was like 3 seasons, but the season 3 kind of went out there on the limb
Oh, really?
because you know how Japan animation goes when it's connected to manga, right? So
Right.
like you get so far in the manga, then the TV tries to do this, and then it ended up being, well, I'm tired of writing the manga, but we haven't finished the story yet, so let's make our own little filler season,
Hmm.
and then the writer comes back and finishes it up through an OVA.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that that kind of thing happened in the anime versus manga kind of world.
Yeah, that's what's happening with Dragon Ball Super right now
Oh,
because
I didn't know that.
the Dragon Ball Super went to a certain manga episode or a certain manga talking about, and then it stopped. And then the manga's like gone way past it now. There's
Oh,
like
wow.
10, 13, 14 volumes after it got done, but they just haven't animated it yet. So it's like, it has been years since the last episode came out.
Really? How many years?
I want to say at least 4.
Wow.
The manga kept going, and they're still releasing the manga in Japan, and then we're getting the English version here.
Hmm.
But it's like there's no more episodes for animation. They just did the couple of movies that came out after that, and that was it.
Did people just lose interest, or was the market just drying up, or something
I,
else?
I don't know. Nobody really knows like why they stopped because
Huh.
everybody was watching the show, everybody was reading the books, and maybe it's just because of cost.
I could see that. I never
You
really
know,
watched the show, but I knew it was running forever. You know?
and I've been watching it since the '80s.
Oh, wow. Wow,
You
that's a
know,
long time. Holy cow.
yeah, I mean, ever since the original Dragon Ball, then Dragon Ball Z, then GT, and then Super. I mean, I've been watching it ever since then. Um, but I was like, holy crap, they just need to get this going.
Do you think they'll ever get back to it?
I think they will. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's money. It's money they're leaving on
Right.
the table.
Right. Right.
It's one of their biggest franchises in Japan. It's Dragon Ball and Gundam. You can't
Yeah.
go in Japan, especially Tokyo, by not going by the Gundam Cafe. You know,
Yeah, I went there the last time, or a couple years ago. We went to one of them, but now they have like five, or I don't know, they have like three or something like that, right?
they do. There's more. Like when I was there was only one. That's the last time I was there in
Yeah, they have a
Tokyo.
few now. Um, yeah, they're pretty, and they're all pretty popular.
And the Gundam is huge. Like you go outside, you're looking up. Like it's huge.
Aren't they like? Aren't they like life size?
They're life
Whatever that
size,
means.
yeah. Like yeah, like the 1-to-1 model size that they're supposed to
Right,
be.
right. Yeah, we went to the one, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like it's massive." And it it lit up in a certain way because we went like at a time when the sun was setting or something like that, and everyone's like, "Oh," and taking pictures and shit, and it was like a big deal. So I was like, "Oh wow!" I mean, I went to see it because it was impressive, but I knew nothing about the the character or the anything about it, so I didn't know the significance of the color change. Like it would seem like a big deal.
Yeah,
Uh,
and like I used to watch the cartoon in the '80s, in the '90s,
right,
and it was kind of hard because there's 8,000 pieces of Gundam, right? There's no easy way to get into that show. There's like
right.
the main Gundam, and then you have like Gundam Seed, and now you have Gundam Orphans, and it's like, and what they did is they try to make a genre for each, each category of kids that came across, because they
Hmm.
know that you're trying to watch the old '70s, '80s ones. Today's
Right.
kids aren't going to do that, right? It's not fast enough. It's hand drawn animation back then.
Interesting. That's so weird, man. Yeah, I could
It,
imagine.
it's like it's even for me. Like if I go watch Mazinger, I'm like, man, it is not aged well over the decades.
So there's
It's
no
like
appreciation for the old stuff. Like nobody's like into the
I
old.
I think not because of the way CGI is. Like people have like what's it, Demon Slayer. They have My Hero Academia, that kind of
Sure,
level CGI. Whereas I'm old school. I like the hand drawn cell stuff.
sure, sure.
But it's not the same. Like they can't push out that kind of stuff anymore. It's too hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, that's why the CGI, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, like I said, I was impressed when I saw the animated Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix. Like, I didn't know they were capable to do. I didn't know that you could do that with a 3D animation program. Like, it really felt like the best mesh, like a mesh between the 2D and the 3D that I've ever seen before. It didn't feel jarring. It looked seamless, and the 3D really played up the action sequences and the fight sequences really well, and the way that they were able to swing the camera around. Um, and then the 2D look of it for the backgrounds and the colors and the way they handled it, it really just had like a nice touch to it, and it just like I didn't realize, like, at times I almost forgot. I was like, oh shit, this is 3D. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Great cast, a lot of really good voice actors in that one as well. Yeah, you should check it out. It's really cool.
I'll definitely check it out. The last anime I really watched was Ghost in the Shell 2045
What
on
did you think of that
Netflix.
one?
I love it. I'm a huge Ghost in the Shell fan.
When did
Masamune
that one come
Shiro,
out?
about 3 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. They
Is it a
also had
movie
a
or a series?
series. They had a series and then they had a movie come out too. And the movie was supposed to be the finale of the. So I've been watching that, and then I watched the Evangelion,
Mm.
the new movie that just came out for 3.0 plus 1.0 or something like that. Um,
Are those 3D or
3D esque kind of like they have some of the effects you can see it in them,
mhm, mhm.
but then it's not overdrawn. Like
Okay, okay.
you know how it is when you put too much 3D into something, it looks bad.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so they did well with those. It's just I wish the story would have been fleshed out a little bit more. But
Mm.
again, it's the same director who did Neon Genesis Evangelion back in the '90s. And
Wow.
so he's just retelling the story a different way, the way he really wanted to in a movie format.
That's kind of cool. That's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, there's only four movies. It's 1.0, uh, 2.22, 3.33, and then 3.0 plus 1.0. There's only four. And yeah, it's, I don't understand why they named them the way they did, but it's like, okay, there was some significance to this guy, I guess, at one point. But it's four
That's
movies,
funny.
and it's supposed to be the whole series reimagined.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. No, Netflix, yeah.
It was on Netflix, and then Crunchyroll.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll have to check those out on Netflix.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
like I said, right now I'm watching was it The Fall of House Usher or The
it's
Fall of
it's
House of Usher?
it's on my next to watch. We've been trying to get through everything, but when I saw Monarch, it was over yesterday.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. I got to check that out. Each episode, what was that? Like an hour, 45 minutes?
About an hour, a little over an hour for the first one, then like 45 minutes for the second one.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, dude. I got to check that out.
You gotta watch it. All right, so we got one more thing to talk about. I mean, you were
All
kind of
right.
talking about this before. So every Christmas, Nate puts out a bunch of stuff he gives away to give back to the YouTube channel.
That's right.
Um, and so this year is no different. And so I asked my good buddy Joel if he could help me out this year. Um, and we will have something for you, good YouTubers out there. We also went over 2,600 subscribers this year. So
What?
so it went well this year. And like I said, I want to give back, and I want to be giving out some chaos stuff. I'm going to give out some Transformer stuff, maybe some Marvel, DC, something esque, maybe. And then, of course, we always got to give something comic book, right? So that's why I asked Joel if he could help me out this year. Um, so what we'll do is we'll do it like we did last year. We'll start it after Thanksgiving. The giveaway will be official after Thanksgiving, and then
Right.
we'll do it until like the second week of December, and then that way we can ship it out to you good guys out there. And so the rules are the same rules that we always have, right? Be a subscriber. You got to comment on that giveaway video, not this video, but the giveaway video that I put
Mhm.
out. And then tell me which one you want, and that's it. I do the spin-a-rooney thing like I always do, and we'll get you guys some good stuff out there. And it's just my way of saying thank you to everybody out there. I appreciate each and every one of y'all.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you for having me on your YouTube channel to chat it up, man. I appreciate it. I'll have to connect with you on that. I will. I'm thinking possibly a sketch cover with some Coffin characters on there. Let's
I
see.
might like that. And so, and just so we let the people know kind of how what we're talking about. So this is kind of like a sketch cover.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'll do is it'll be. I have several different Coffin Comics exclusive sketch covers that are Joel Gomez sketch cover exclusives. They're literally written as such, at the bottom of the book.
Mhm.
Um, I'll put something unique on there, and I'll kind of convene with Nathan, see what we can come up with, and what you guys might want to, or what would make for a good prize,
Mhm.
and I will send it to my buddy Nathan, and he will have it there in his midst for you.
Definitely. I appreciate it. And thank you, Joel, for being on here tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's been a while. And
Yeah,
so
man.
glad to have you on here. We'll definitely have you come back on again, especially when Lady Gunfighter's about to be kicked off. I think that'd be a good time to
Oh,
have you come back on.
yeah.
That way we
That'd be
can talk
awesome,
it up.
man.
So,
Yeah, we could talk. I can share some other pages, and then maybe we could talk some more comics. What I've been reading again, and we'll go over some more shows.
and one more thing. So, everybody, Joel does have a website too, and he does sell things out there on
Oh
Joel
yeah, yeah,
Gomez Art. And
yeah.
so, I'm going
You
to
can
put the
also
link
check.
in.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great. You guys can reach out. I'm also on all socials. Joel Gomez Art on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So yeah, keep an eye out. I'll be doing some streams here shortly. I finally got a little rig set up with cameras and lighting, and I'm looking to be a little more active with some drawing process stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out and follow me for more information.
Definitely. And everybody, I'll have his links down below in the description of YouTube. So you guys come check it out afterwards and you'd be able to see it and then get on that one. Get on that one. All right, folks. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. If I don't talk to you guys soon, have a happy Thanksgiving out there. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your family. All
Happy
right.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.